Get your day started.
Get up! Get up!
It's Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning.
Morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
On Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. The first hour of Sports 56 Mornings is brought to you by Old Dominick Distillery in downtown Memphis. Now, here are your hosts, Greg and Eli.
I normally begin the show with a big smile on my face. I am happy to be here. We got 3 hours of sports talk for you, but after the happenings of yesterday, it's not a great day. It wasn't a great day yesterday. It'll be a tough day today after finding out, after we were off the air yesterday, about the news of Brandon Clark and other things, certainly that happened throughout the day, which were very depressing. Unfortunately, that's the way we start the show today. We got a lot to get into. We're glad you're here, but we will use at least this first hour, and when DeMichael Cole joins us, to remember Brandon Clark after the tragedy from Monday night that was announced yesterday. It is the Wednesday, May 13th, 2026 edition of the program. We welcome you into Sports 56 Mornings as we're live and local from the Family Leisure Studios. Greg Gaston, Eli Savoy, Jay Ham with you. Family Leisure at 2120 Whitten Road, just north of I-40. And we thank Old Dominick Distillery. They are the first hour sponsor of Sports 56 Mornings, 305 South Front Street, downtown Memphis. OldDominick.com is the website you need to check out. 56 degrees currently, going to warm up to 85, mostly sunny. Should be a very nice day and a very nice week from a weather standpoint. But not a great day yesterday at all, as it was found out that Brandon Clark had died on Monday night. We'll get to the particulars here in just a moment. I'm sure by now most of you, if not all of you, have heard the details, although an investigation continues as drug paraphernalia was found in Los Angeles where he passed away. But when you think of Brandon Clark, you think of just how kind he was, what he did in the community, easygoing guy, productive guy on the court. Unfortunately, injuries hampering his career over the last 3 years, 2 of the last 3 years, besieged by injuries. But from everything that I've heard, the little interaction I've had with him, but everybody that knows him well, talked about just how terrific a guy he was. Eli Savoy, that was a tough pill to swallow. Anybody, whether it's a player in your area, whether it's a friend, whether it's family member, 29 years of age is heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's awful. It was weird because I had gotten a text from somebody yesterday, kind of shortly after our show wrapped up, asking if I had heard anything going on involving the Grizzlies. And at that time, I said, no, I haven't heard anything and didn't think really too much of it. And then later got another text from somebody else asking me about, have you heard any bad news from the Grizzlies? And no, I haven't heard anything. And so then I started kind of doing a little investigating, and and found some stuff online about it. And at that point, it was just, rumors that were out there, and you hope that it's like, okay, hopefully this is just a really terrible rumor that somehow has gotten out there, and we'll find out that it's not true. And then lo and behold, the actual statement comes from his representatives and the Grizzlies shortly after that as well. And it's just, 29 years old, just way too young. And obviously it's, been a tough stretch for Brandon, with the injuries that have limited him over the last few years. And then obviously the arrest, over in Arkansas. And, you don't know what, again, he always seemed like a very happy-go-lucky guy, and I think generally was. I mean, from everybody in the organization, everybody talked about like that he was, and his former teammates and everybody else. I mean, he was a guy that was always smiling, always having a good time, always brought that energy. And that's kind of what he was known for on the court, like just brought energy. He always did that. And you just wonder with the injury situation and everything else, just how much that kind of, got into his head, and you wonder what was going through his head about what his future might be. All of these things you never know, and you don't know what people are going through, and it's just an awful situation, awful news to get, and certainly you just pray for his family and the Grizzlies and everybody that knew him, and he was very close to a lot of his teammates, and it's got to be a horrendous situation for some of those guys to have to go through and get that news.
The outpouring of responses from people who knew him and maybe fringe players who were in the NBA, kind of knew him but really weren't friends with him. The outpouring of condolences, my gosh, yesterday from players and other people as well that were in his life. Former head coach Mark Few at Gonzaga, his second stop. I think he started at, was it
San Jose State.
San Jose State, went to Gonzaga, was a star at Gonzaga. Didn't start out as a great basketball player when he started his collegiate career and turned into a great basketball player. And then the Grizzlies getting him on draft night 2019. And he spent his entire career in Memphis. By the way, I don't know if people knew this, but he was represented by a Memphian, Andy Schiffman, at Priority Sports. And that's when I caught wind of what happened. I had no idea. Nobody texted me like they texted you. And I saw the post on X from Priority Sports, and then it started to a cavalcade of responses from everybody. And then, of course, the Grizzlies organization sent out a release, and their response, Mayor Paul Young had his response to it, Adam Silver, and just everybody around the league. Let me bring in Jay Ham, third member of our broadcast team. Jay, certainly startling news. Anybody at 29, you don't expect things like this to happen. Brandon Clark was a model player and a model citizen. Obviously, he had his demons and his issues in his personal life that has come to light a little bit. But, I mean, he was always remembered as just a consummate team player.
And I pretty much looked at the same, view that Eli gave it. Just wondered what was going through his mind mentally. I took it back to the arrest, and I'm like, even then I'm thinking, okay, he's over there picking this stuff up. He's obviously in pain. He's trying to do what he can do to get himself back in the flow of everything. And then when Brian Dacus came and told me and John yesterday, right about 11:25, right, we were taking the first break, but it was still at rumor stage at that point, right? Nothing been confirmed. So I started looking, trying to confirm, and couldn't find anything. But we didn't want to break it because we weren't sure. We weren't sure if it was all true or what was the case, but just kind of filtering around, texting with other media people was like, yeah, we're all hearing the same thing, but it was gruesome just to, when I saw TMZ got a hold of it, it's like, oh man. And so for me, it was like, let me disconnect from social media for now. But I took time to remember him in the fun ways, remember his highlights, remember the things that he enjoyed doing that we knew that he enjoyed doing. It took me back just to that Minnesota series. Mm-hmm. Like, yo, that dude was really good.
Big time. He was a big time postseason player for the Grizzlies.
He was really good.
But I'm not going to. I want to hear from you folks out there who haven't had a chance to maybe express your opinion. If you are a big Grizzlies fan and a fan of Brandon Clark, you can hit us up on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener lines by calling in or texting in at 901-360-8255. I'm not going to use this time to speculate. I mean, you could put two and two together that either one of two things happened, right? You know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to sit here and because obviously he had some kind of an issue, whether obviously it was the demise of him, was a drug overdose. That's what they're saying right now, killed him. But whether or not suicide was involved, I don't know. I'm not going to sit here, but the guy was going through some hard times. when you're a player and you can't get on the court, you don't know what your mental state is. We don't know. We don't know him. And so it's just, it's horrible however it happened. I don't care. Like I said, 29 years old, whoever it is, an NBA player, a famous person, John Q. Public, we just want to send our condolences, our thoughts and prayers to his family, the Grizzlies organization, friends of Brandon Clark, and of course, all the fans of the Grizzlies.
Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine, for a mom of a 29-year-old son who, and that's the thing, we think of these people who are making millions of dollars. Like, what problem can you possibly have in life? Mm-hmm. Like, you're making millions of dollars. You're rich. You're an NBA player. Like, you can't possibly have any issues. But you never know. You don't know what people are going through. And again, for something like that, where you are an NBA player and you are making millions of dollars, but you aren't able to do what you're supposed to do because injuries are, have put you on the bench basically for almost 2 full seasons out of the last 3. You start, I'm sure, wondering, okay, what's my future? Like, am I ever going to be able to get back on the floor because of these injuries? How much just physical pain is he in from these injuries? We don't know. I mean, again, you can look back at the situation at Arkansas and go, I mean, it was a bit of a cry for help. I mean, it's like, because everybody was asking the same question at that time, like, what the hell are you doing? Like, it's a game day. Red, you're not playing, but it's a game day, and you're driving to Arkansas to get a bunch of this drug that is actually legal in Tennessee that you could just buy. Like, what in the world? Like, one of those situations where somebody's like, what in the world are you doing? Like, what's happening here? And
extremely dangerous drug.
You would never imagine that this was going to be the situation a couple of months later, but it's, again, that it's just, it's awful stuff. And you just, again, pray for his family, because I just can't imagine getting that phone call about, your son, your loved one at 29 years old. I'm like, what just happened?
Yeah, it's sad. It doesn't excuse, what he did as far as being arrested. I had a brother who passed away who had issues with drugs. And again, what caused that? Did he have an issue before, or was it because of the injuries and that he needed that help? And we don't know what's going through the minds of anybody in their private lives, especially those who seem so happy publicly. We don't know. We don't know what's going on. All you can do, again, is pray and, just send your condolences. And if you want to talk about it, that's fine. And then, unfortunately, he will never be forgotten with this organization. He was a great pickup by them when they made the move on draft night, and he was a really good player. And then, unfortunately, the injuries, just like John Morant, great player till the injuries. But a couple of other things, and I'm not going to go over all the people that commented. I mean, just player after player, and I told you the mayor and the commissioner. But Jalen Wells, his teammate with the Grizzlies, said Memphis won't be the same without you. That's how much of an impact he made on young players like Jalen Wells, who was in his second year, and I'm sure Cedric Coward, the rookie, only 1 year, and Brandon Clark wasn't playing much with him, only a couple of games, but being there, being the teammate, being the consummate professional. And then you look also at how things change, how quickly things change. On Sunday, the Grizzlies got the 3rd pick in the NBA draft, and on Monday, we were electrified. That was the big topic of the day on Monday's show. And people would say, hey, finally, the good luck changed for the organization. And we didn't know anything what was happening in Los Angeles Monday night. And then the news coming down yesterday, and we're talking about it just a couple days later, that Brandon Clark, who again, we were even discussing him on the show yesterday, that more than likely he will be released, or if he's not, he's got one more year under the contract. The injuries, 1, 2, the arrest. I mean, nobody thought in the right mind that something like this was going to happen, and we'd be talking about that today. So that's how quickly, you go from the high to the low.
Well, too, I mean, he had started his foundation here. He was making great impact in the community with the kids, especially
right. Visiting schools.
It's just, again, on the surface, you would never guess. I can't imagine, and I don't know that if he posted anything on social media, but I mean, like Jaren Jackson Jr. and Brandon were extremely tight. So I can't, I don't know if Jaren's posted anything or not, but like those two were like really, really tight. So can't imagine what he's going through, but any of those teammates, I mean, again, you're
brothers in arm, really.
To lose a teammate like that at 29 years old is got to be a complete shock to the system. It's got to be just how you try and digest that. And certainly for a younger guy like Jalen Wells, again, for these guys, like Brandon was the veteran. He's the guy along with Ja who's been here the longest and been around. And once Jaren was traded, like he's kind of one of the senior statesmen of this team. It's weird to say he's 29 years old and he's one of the guys, but like that everybody's got to look up to. But I mean, for those young guys, like he's one of those guys.
To set up the show for today, DeMichael Cole will join us in his usual spot at 8:05. He's at the NBA Combine in Chicago. Obviously, we'll talk to him about this tragic news, but also about what he's seeing in Chicago, because the organization, while grieving right now, will have to pick themselves up and move on and look at the future. And that future begins next month with an extremely important NBA draft. And speaking of that, at 9:05, James Fletcher will join us, the managing editor at On3 Sports, to talk about the draft prospects. I mean, he knows these guys inside and out. We'll get his thoughts on what he thinks the Grizzlies should do, again, sitting at number 3, number 16, and number 32 in the NBA draft. And then later in the day, yesterday, we caught wind of the Jason Collins death. And now Jason Collins was battling cancer and had been for a while. He's a 13-year NBA veteran, still 47 years old, not old at all. He was a trailblazing player, first openly gay athlete out there as a team sport player. He was traded to the Grizzlies. I don't know how many people knew that or remembered that yesterday when we were still grieving the loss of Brandon Clark. He played in 2008 in Memphis, only for about 31 games, and he was traded in 2008 for Stromile Swift, who, again, we talked about yesterday on the show. I mean, it's eerie. I mean, we hadn't talked about Stromile Swift in years and years.
Stromile had a second run in Memphis.
No, he was
traded.
traded.
Yeah, they traded Stromile Swift.
Stroh to get Collins.
Okay,
yeah.
okay,
Collins was then traded in the draft night trade that got O.J. Mayo. He was a part of the Kevin Love, Mike Miller, whatever package that netted O.J. Mayo back here on draft night.
He was one of the many players that played in Memphis that didn't play a long time. But again, 31 games is actually a lot when you compare it to guys that were traded and then never stepped a foot into Memphis, or guys like Allen Iverson, who came to Memphis and only played a couple of games. He actually played 31 games. But certainly he was a trailblazer. He passed away as well yesterday. And then we had the huge news of Daryl Morey being shown the door in Philadelphia. Their longtime president and decision maker, and the Sixers, I don't think under his leadership, got past the second round, right? That was huge news. I didn't like that selfishly, because here are other big NBA stories that now overtake Brandon Clark. And Brandon Clark was the second story on NBC National News. I was watching it. And then as the day progresses, you get Collins. And while not a great player, he was a solid player. And like I said, a trailblazer. So his death is mourned. And then you have the big news off the court as far as the move that Philadelphia makes. We had also a playoff game that we'll talk about in our next segment that took place last night. But, you know, the huge story for us here in Memphis is it's the shocking death. It's not just the death of a player. It's the shocking death, a stunner when I saw this. So if you'd like to comment, and maybe you had a chance yesterday throughout the day, but if you'd like to talk a little bit about Brandon Clark, about BC, beloved teammate of so many that played in the Memphis organization, we'd love to hear from you at 901-360-8255. Again, hour number one is brought to you by Old Dominick Distillery, pouring Memphis pride into every cocktail, producing Tennessee whiskey, bourbon whiskey, Honeybell citrus vodka, and Formula 10 gin. They do it downtown at the Old Dominick Distillery at 305 South Front Street. You can go online and find out more about them at olddominick.com. They list all of their whiskeys and spirits. They list all of their signature cocktails and instructions on how you can make them at home using the Old Dominick spirits. You can swing by for a pregame cocktail when you're downtown for whatever the event may be. Make it a nightcap over at Old Dominick Distillery. Every Thursday is happy hour from 4 to 7. $7 cocktails made with signature spirits. $4 local beers. Celebrate your wins with a guided tour and tasting. Old Dominick Distillery. Come for the spirits. Stay for the experience. Cheers to Memphis. And cheers to Brandon Clark, lost so soon, so early in his life. Again, if you want to talk about BC, we'll do that when we return. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Available locally on your radio dial as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Wherever you are, it's easy to stay tuned to Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Since 1948, in the alley, the Rendezvous. I'm with John Burgos. John, what's going on in the Rendezvous?
Brett, after 76 years, we've decided to expand our product line. Anyone who's tasted our ribs is familiar with our vinegar base. It's now available in a 32-ounce jar. It's so good to base or marinate all meats. I even put a little bit on turnip greens. Something we've been using at the restaurant or at our house has been the Greek seasoning. My father was a cook, but my mother was a chef, and she was the one that put Greek seasoning on everything from a Mediterranean diet or a steak. My mom used it on soup, salad, veggies, fish, any meats. It's a great seasoning and a flavor enhancer. My brother Nick figured out salt and pepper was more than just McCormick's and Morton's. He's come up with a perfect blend we use to coat our shoulders and our brisket, and he used to make it for his friends as Christmas gifts, and they loved it. All these products are available at the Rendezvous or online for shipping as gifts and in many grocery stores. And if they're not in your favorite grocery store, ask your grocer to stock it.
A beloved family affair and still going strong since 1948, the Rendezvous.
Listen up, Rebel fans. Your next winning drive starts at Landers Ford in Collierville. Their game plan is simple. Find you the most savings possible. Make a trade, lower your payments, or let them buy your vehicle even if you don't buy from them. That's how you keep moving the chains. Just like the Grove on game day. Fans all across the Mid-South keep coming back to the #1 Ford dealership in Greater Memphis. See them today in Collierville or online at LandersFordMemphis.com. When you own a Landers Ford, you get the support of a certified service tech with the Landers Ford Remote Service Experience Program. They pick it up, drop it off, or fix it on the spot, so you're never left watching from the sidelines. To finish the drive, the iconic Landers Easy Pass always brings more for your trade and the biggest discounts to put you in victory formation. And now, straight from the 1977 Ole Miss football team that took down #1 ranked Notre Dame, the final snap of the day from Landers Ford President Don Kitchens.
If it doesn't say Landers, you paid too much.
As reported on Ford's 2024 Total New Vehicle Retail Sales Report, Memphis Market.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roof Services. Do you know what Penny Hardaway and I have in common? We should both be in that building celebrating the best basketball players of all time. Of course, I'll have to buy a ticket to get in, but he should already be there. But seriously, we both surround ourselves with the best people we can find. We work hard to achieve our goals, and we are both among the best in our respective fields. At 5 Ash, we can't win titles or get national awards, but what we can and do strive to do is give 100% of ourselves to give you the best product possible and one you can be proud of. So if you need a roof, siding, or gutters, give us a call at 901-367-0050, and we will do everything we can to provide you the best of everything. 5 Ash Roofing. Fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
5 Ash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good morning. A couple of accidents in the wrap-up stages. What we're seeing right now is heavier traffic volume trying to push up through Midtown on 240 North, especially here up by Norris and Lamar, as it gets heavier over here around the 101 connector at times. I-40 around Watkins. Steady flow of traffic continues to come in from Fayette County right now. Is that building pretty good, actually. Westbound I-40 here at Chambers Chapel, Canada Road. Bridal season is just around the corner. Shop local at Weimer's Jewelry. You'll be glad you did, because you'll save money at Weimer's Jewelry on Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Now back to Sports 56 Mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by Old Dominick Distillery in downtown Memphis. Here once again are Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back. Remembering Brandon Clark on this Wednesday morning. BC played 309 games in the NBA, all with the Grizzlies, averaging just under 21 minutes per game. But you talk about production in that time. 10.2 points, 5.5 rebounds, nearly a block, nearly a steal, over 1 assist, shot 60.5% from the field. A lot of those alley-oop dunks. He had springs for feet. This is a text from our friend Jarvis Greer. Just devastated. BC was a good dude who wanted to be a worker bee. While not a starter, he often closed games, was a force on the offensive glass. Came in with Ja, was the recipient of many lob jams that brought the Forum crowd to its feet. Grizz don't win that Minnesota series that you referenced to, J-Ham, without him. Wolves had played Steven Adams off the floor. In comes BC, and the tide changed with his hustle, quickness, aerial attack, and the BC bounce. Rest in peace, BC. Well said, Jarvis. I don't think there's any question. And to your point, he was the elder statesman along with Ja of this team. And now, of course, Ja expected to be traded. BC has passed away. Obviously, Jaren Jackson Jr. came in the next year. Gone, traded. Dez traded.
Jaren was here first.
Well, that's right. But Jaren obviously traded out. Then Dez came in. The three amigos and BC was really, a big part of that group.
Yeah, that thing, it was, and that's why it was so unfortunate to have the injuries that he had. I mean, he was a big part of the team and the team's success. I mean, he was the just change of pace that he could bring because of his athleticism and everything else that when you had, whether at that time Steven Adams, but now from Zach Edey to him was supposed to, he's kind of the other type center that you could put in there. And unfortunately, again, those injuries, this year just gets out there, then immediately goes back down with the injury. And again, you just don't know mentally what that does to a player when they can't get on the court and stay healthy.
Well, like you said, the worst part was the first injury. He rehabs from the first injury, and it looks like everything's a go. And then when he gets out there and starts playing again, he gets hurt again.
Raider Corey texts in, said, what a sad situation. The injuries and depression played a major role in his life as he was trying to get back to playing ball. So sad to hear the news. The Grizzlies must retire number 15 for someone who played for your organization only. Rest comfortably, BC.
I've heard that from a lot of people about retiring his number. What do you think?
I certainly could see it. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure next year they'll wear some sort of patch, either 15 or BC or something on their jerseys. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I would have no no qualms if they decided to do that.
Right.
I think this doesn't happen. I think the last active NBA player to die was Bobby Phills, I believe, in 2000. Like this doesn't. We don't get this. Like you don't get active players,
right,
who die like this. I mean, again, you don't expect anybody to die that young to begin with, and so it is it
unfortunately happens in football. It happens in football, a brutal sport. It's happened with college players that have passed. But you're right. With the NBA, I didn't know, I didn't look it up, so I'm glad you brought up Bobby Phills. I was like trying to knock my brain around and come up with that name.
And a few months after Bobby Phills, Malik Sealy. Same thing, car accident with both. That was like later in the summer of 2000 with Malik Sealy. I think Bobby Phills was early 2000. So it's around the same.
There was like Drazen Petrovic back in the day. Like, and usually generally it's always been car accidents.
Right.
For something to happen to a guy that young, everything else, that's what you would possibly expect.
The one non-accident, Reggie Lewis.
Yeah.
With the heart. But I wonder how many of his teammates, if any at all, knew if he was depressed. And again, we don't know all the details, but if he was, or he masked it so well, he hid it so well, because people do hide that when they're out there in public. And when I mean out there in the public, I mean even with their guys, it's still publicly. I'm talking about inside, when you're alone, when you're by yourself. That's when that depression can come out. And I don't know if anybody knew that, because if they knew that, you would think that they would be out there trying to help him. But again, who knows? Maybe it was just he wasn't. And it was just strictly an OD. We don't have the details. The bottom line is,
and we don't know who
he's
he was
dead
with.
at 29, which is just heartbreaking and tragic.
We don't know who he was with. I mean, somebody called 911. I don't know how they found him, how he was found, or anything. Like, we don't know that. So there's a lot of stuff we don't know. And again, it really doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It really doesn't.
Bottom line is he's passed away, and it's a horrendously terrible situation for the Grizzlies organization to try and deal with that, and for his family and everybody else I'm sure again, you could look back at the arrest situation and think like was kind of a cry for help almost, but I'm sure there's teammates, there's friends, there's family that are all thinking like, crap, I guess I should have done more. Like I needed to do this. I needed to be there, whatever. But you can't beat yourself up about that either, because we always think, again, that when you're making millions of dollars and an NBA player, you can't possibly have issues in your life. Like he was making $12 million a year. Like, what problems can you have making $12 million a year? But again, people have problems.
Yeah, and certainly, again, I know this from my family, my life, about drugs. And my brother was the greatest dude in the world. So I hope people don't look at it and go, oh my gosh, he was a drug addict and he's a bad dude. All that. No, it's the complete opposite. He had his issues. He was a great person, because all you have to do is listen or read about what everybody's saying. And you know that this guy was as well respected as anybody. And nobody has had a bad word to say about the guy. So,
I mean, Danny Green yesterday on, I guess it was one of the ESPN, I don't know if it was on SportsCenter or on the NBA show or whatever. I mean, Danny Green was here for a very short time, but he talked about how close he got to Brandon, because he just said like that was Brandon. Like you
gravitated towards him.
He was like everybody's best friend. Like he was, just because he was such a positive guy, like always smiling, bringing energy to the locker room. Like you just naturally became close to him.
It's so early in this, and this is the first time we've had a chance to talk about it. But soon we got to talk about the impact. And when I say the impact, maybe it wasn't going to be any more on the court, but if he was not able to come back from the injuries, but he was still going to be a part of the Grizzlies for his final contract year, how much does his death impact young players that are on the team? They all commented yesterday, or most of them commented yesterday, and I wonder if it will have a lasting impact on them.
And for me personally, this is why, like, when guys get injured, I'm not usually blasting them about the injuries because it does take that mental toll.
Oh,
They're
sure.
just trying to get back, and they hear all the criticism, they hear everything that's being said about them, and it starts to mess with them. You know, and you never know what links guys get pushed to, what's going through their mind. It's just, you know, more, I guess, of a cause, you know, raise a mental awareness for me.
Well, I think Eli hit it on the head when he said that you start to look around and go, oh my gosh, I'm 29.
Yeah.
I've had 2 injury-plagued years out of the last 3.
Yeah.
Do I have a future in the NBA? What am I going to do next? And the guy's a very intelligent guy and all that. But I think it's a good. I think it's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like this year especially. Like, you know, you missed most of the year 2 years ago. You come back, you play most of the year last year, the two seasons ago, and now so you play and you're like, okay, things are good. Then you get another serious injury. You battle back from that. You're like, okay, now I've got that one behind me. You take the floor, and immediately you're injured again after 2 games. And so I could imagine the thought is like, am I ever going to be able to be healthy again? Like, is my NBA career wrapping up at 29 years old because my body is failing me? And yeah, like again, you're making $12 million a year, but you're also looking at it going, how much longer am I going to be able to do this because my body's failing me? And that, I can't imagine what that would do to you mentally. Like, just like that idea of it's coming to an end, and I can't do, like, I'm doing everything I can. I rehabbed my rear end off, and I got out there and I played 2 games and I went back out again. Like, my body is failing me and costing me the rest of my career. I can't even imagine what that would be like.
Right. It's impossible for us to understand that, the mentality of an athlete, especially a professional athlete. But we can kind of guess that if you're unable to play, or you think you're unable to play, the thoughts of, what do I do next? I'm going to lose that camaraderie with the guys, the locker room. They always talk about the locker room, how great it is. And the kinship they have, the friendship they have with all those players, they would lose that if they weren't around there. I can only imagine those types of things that are rolling through your head.
And then once you get prescribed on oxys, and you start to build their dependency on them.
That's a whole other. Yep. You're right.
It combined with everything else that we're talking about.
Yes.
Combining with that,
could lead to absolute depression.
Anybody in any walk of life, if you were to get your dream job and then suddenly something happens that you're like, I'm not going to be able to continue my dream job at 29 years old. Like, I'm expecting to do this for the next however long, and suddenly you're hit with the reality of, man, it might be over because of something really out of my control. Like, my body's failing me or whatever. You get whatever happens to you that now you're not going to be able to do that job anymore. Yeah, that's going to take a mental toll. Like, your whole life that you thought was what it was is no longer in your mind. Yeah, that's going to be difficult to deal with.
And that's in spite whatever money that you made up to that point, any of that, you know.
Yeah, exactly. That's like because you're still looking at the future of like, okay, what is, if suddenly this is taken from me, what is next, and then where do I go from here? What do I do? Because I'm at that point, you've played basketball his whole life. Like, that's what he is. He's been now he has his music and other things that he does, but like, you are a basketball player probably since he's been 4 or 5 years old. Like, that's what he's done, is play basketball. And when it's kind of starting to, this reality at such a young age is setting in of like, oh gosh, this might be taken away from me. Yeah, that's got to be difficult.
We talked about what he did away from the courts, away from basketball, here in this community, here in Memphis. And there's a really good story from the Daily Memphian, or in the Daily Memphian, from Drew Hill and Chris Harrington. Drew Hill was on with us on Monday, and this was the day before his 29th birthday. So not that long ago, when he delivered a check to a class full of second graders. He made sure everybody got a high five or a hug. That's the kind of human being Brandon Clark was. Again, if you have a thought or a comment, you can hit us up on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener lines at 901-360-8255. Well, more on this with DeMichael Cole at 8:05. In the meantime, one NBA playoff game last night. San Antonio ends up running away with the Game 5 in their series with the Minnesota Timberwolves, winning 126-97. That game at times was close, and Minnesota made a run with the Ant-Man, and then all of a sudden you look up and San Antonio's got the lead back to 10, and they would go on to cruise from there and end up winning by 29 points. They had a 30-12 run in the third quarter, so now they are on the brink of advancing, and that would mean a meeting with the Oklahoma City Thunder for the Western Conference Championship. The Thunder, of course, the defending NBA champions, but the Spurs now up 3-2. Minnesota's going to have to win back home to force a Game 7. Victor Wembanyama, 27 points, 17 rebounds, 5 assists. He was tremendous. His fellow Frenchman, not so much. As Gobert continues to struggle. Rudy Gobert was pointed out a number of times by Reggie Miller during that game. But 4 points, 5 rebounds isn't cutting the mustard. They need a lot more, especially when you got DiVincenzo out. Ant-Man's been playing without... I don't think he's 100% by any stretch of the imagination, still doing what he does. They've had to depend on more minutes from Mike Conley. It's just hard to score against that San Antonio team. And you got a 7-footer, 7+ footer. I know you're going up against Wembanyama, but my gosh, I saw the one play when he went up and he got blocked, and that shot was blocked. Gobert's shot was blocked by Wembanyama. Gobert just doesn't have that energy and that extra oomph that Wembanyama has, and unless they get something out of him, they got no chance to force the 7th game.
Well, he doesn't have offensive skill other than dunking the basketball, pretty much.
Well, he's got to do something then.
And it's hard to do when you got a 7'5" or whatever freak of nature in there. It was fun. It was a lot of fun for him the other night when Wembanyama wasn't in there. He got a bunch of dunks.
But that's the thing. Gosh, you're also huge. Block his shots. Defend him. Do something to help out your team.
Well, he tried to defend him the one time, and Victor Wembanyama treated him like the little brother, had him spinning in circles, looked like a dog, like he tried the fake throw of the dog in. Rudy Gobert, that was one of the funny, Rudy Gobert had no idea where the basketball was.
That man did the full hokey pokey and turned around.
That's what it's all about, Jay.
When he spun back around the other direction, thinking the ball went there, and it's actually on the other side, and the guy's dunking it, and I was like, whoa, man, you can't do that to a fellow Frenchman. He just literally, that's kind of one of his guys, and you just treated him like, I just did him dirty.
Akeem Olajuwon smiled somewhere.
It literally looked like the dog playing the fake throw and catch. He had no clue what had happened to the basketball.
He's just that good, Wembanyama, and they can wrap it up on Friday in Minnesota. That line's already out. San Antonio, 4.5-point favorite on the road to end things. Tonight, Cavs Pistons Game 5 in Detroit. Series even at 2. Detroit a 4.5-point favorite. So far, the home team has won every single game. So we'll see what happens in Game 5. But again, last night, Victor Wembanyama doing his thing again as the Spurs roll by 29. And it is destined that the series we all expected for the Western Conference Final, Oklahoma City and San Antonio, will take place. In the East, of course, the Knicks have been resting after blanking the Sixers 4-0, and they await the winner of Detroit and Cleveland. The earliest they can start that series would be Sunday, but we'll see how long this series goes. Again, tonight, pivotal game number 5. We'll take a timeout. We got lots more to get to on the program. Speaking of Frenchmen, the University of Memphis has landed a Frenchman, a big man. We'll talk about him later on in the show. And again, DeMichael Cole joins us at 8:05 from the NBA Combine in Chicago. You're tuned into Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Let Bryant Dacus and Brett Norsworthy take you home every afternoon. Sports Time on Sports 56. Weekdays from 3 to 6 here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Do you want a greener, more weed-free lawn? If you're like me, you can't stand the sight of dandelions, clover, or especially crabgrass. Hi, I'm Brandon Hawley, president of Lawn Solutions. We are your locally owned and operated weed control and fertilization company. We are also experts in disease and insect control on your lawn and landscape. Our uniformed technicians are full-time, year-round licensed and certified by the state of Tennessee. Lawn Solutions' personalized service is far more superior to that of national companies that promise but simply cannot deliver. We return phone calls, we keep appointments, and we want your business. What we will not do is bother you with endless phone calls or junk mail. Lawn Solutions will not sell you something your lawn doesn't need. If you're looking for a local lawn care company to kill your weeds and feed your grass, then Lawn Solutions is the finest. Call us at 867-5626. That's 867-5626. Or go online at lawnsolutionsinc.net. From our family to yours, we want to thank you for your business.
Your home is your best investment, so why not make it the best it can be with help from Gates Lumber? Start with your front door, serving two purposes, curb appeal and security. Gates has solid construction doors built for security, durability, and beauty. See and compare wood, steel, and fiberglass options side by side at Gates Showroom. It's easier to choose when you can see and touch real doors with real assistance from knowledgeable staff helping you choose the right door for your home and budget. So don't just replace your door, upgrade your protection, and Gates Lumber is the right choice. Family owned and operated, serving you for over 100 years with free estimates, free delivery, competitive prices, and quality products. Call 901-942-3201, go to gateslumber.com, or come by their showroom, 1253 South Bellevue Boulevard. Gates Lumber, celebrating over 100 years with a passion for craftsmanship since 1920.
Tito's Handmade Vodka is America's favorite vodka for a reason. From the first legal distillery in Texas, Tito's is 6 times distilled till it's just right and naturally gluten-free, making it a high-quality spirit that mixes with just about anything. From the smoothest martinis to the best Bloody Marys, Tito's is known for giving back, teaming up with nonprofits to serve its communities and do good for dogs. Make your next cocktail with Tito's. Distilled and bottled by 5th Generation Incorporated, Austin, Texas. 40% alcohol by volume. Savor responsibly.
Now back to Sports 56 Mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by Old Dominick Distillery in downtown Memphis. Here once again are Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
That's me in the corner.
Welcome back, everyone. Got some Memphis Tigers news from yesterday. According to several reports, the Tigers have landed another big, not as big as Victor Wembanyama or Rudy Gobert, but they got a 6'9" big named Maxime Logie, who decommitted from North Carolina. He comes from Florida Atlantic, but had committed to North Carolina. According to these reports, there was an academic transcript issue, so he ends up not going to North Carolina, but ends up at the University of Memphis, which is interesting. I'm not sure if he had any more offers from power conference schools, but Memphis has added a big man. I saw some of the highlights from him. Pretty nice, looks good, but he was a backup at Florida Atlantic, came off the bench, averaged only 4.8 points and 3.1 rebounds, but that was only in 11 minutes per game. He played, I think, 26, 28 games. But again, looking at the highlights, seems very, very athletic. And again, he comes from France, so that's where he's from, but played at Florida Atlantic, so another player that Penny Hardaway very familiar with, having played against them within the conference.
Yeah, had a one of his stronger games, I guess, came against Memphis. He had a good game against them in one of the matchups this year. He very good rebounding numbers, in the limited time that he got. Very good on the offensive glass. Again, hard to tell a whole lot. The offensive game, not sure exactly what there is there. But, started at Oregon State, goes to Florida Atlantic for a year. Again, in the limited minutes that he got, did do some things, especially on the rebounding department. And he was strong rebounder when he was at Oregon State too. In the limited minutes he got there, he was put up high rebounding percentages. So we'll see what he's able to do. As far as how much time he could possibly get with the Tigers, and if he can, keep that production up and maybe get more playing time.
Well, again, they get Cornelius Williams, 6'9", dominant rebounder from North Alabama. Again, going up a level as far as the quality of play from North Alabama to when you're playing from Memphis and you're playing all those big time non-conference opponents. And then even in the conference, they're stepping up. So Williams has those numbers. That's what you want. You want a rebounder, a defensive guy, a physical guy. That's what I've said all along. They don't have to be 7 feet as long as they're physically dominant. And now this guy has the makeup of being another physical player, like you said, and a good rebounder in Maxime Logie. Now, there's one spot left. Penny, talking with Dave Woloshin last week, said that he probably will put that one in his pocket. But if something comes up that they can't resist and will help the team, then they'll add that player. There is something out there about Fred Smith. I'm sure you've probably heard that. Fred Smith has, to this point, not signed yet with the University of Memphis. He hasn't really signed on the dotted line. And so I'm not sure if that will be an issue or not, but that's something to keep an eye on. But as far as the bigs, they got a couple of bigs now. And I think Penny and the staff have done a really nice job in putting together this roster for next year. Now it's all about gelling and all these guys getting better when they're in practice together over the summer, in the fall, in camp. And then, of course, you got to start the season running. You can't start the season walking with the type of schedule that they play. But I think Penny's happy. The Tigers on tour, their first stop was yesterday up in Arlington. Penny saying that he is much happy. Where did I say? Arlington? Lakeland.
Give Lakeland its respect.
Lakeland and Arlington, both next to each other, right?
Give Lakeland its respect.
I mean, same place.
Give Lakeland its respect.
Anyway.
I don't live in Arlington. I live in Lakeland.
Penny, come on. Penny said much happier now over last summer. So at this time last summer, he was struggling to get those bigs that he added in August, and the team wasn't complete. And now, again, other than that last spot and getting Fred signed, they are pretty set with the team. So he's very happy. Also, a lot of positives last night from the tour stop was the fact that Dr. Ed Scott, the athletics director, talked up the stadium. And we know yesterday we were talking with our guest during Mickey Barker's segment, Mr. Fletcher, the architect.
Fleming.
Mr. Fleming, God, I'm all over the place here. Mr. Fleming, I'm trying to remember, whose company is not only the architects for the new clubhouse at Audubon, but big projects around the city, including Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium. And he talked about how great this will be. Well, Dr. Scott echoed those sentiments and then talked about not only will the north end get a new scoreboard, the south end's getting a new scoreboard. They're both getting new scoreboards. They're going to have the ribbon scoreboard all around the stadium, and the sound system, which I think we've known this, but the sound system will be the best it possibly can be. It's not going to be coming out of the scoreboard. It's going to be a state-of-the-art sound system. They're ahead of schedule. It'll be done in July. They got the big tunnel. Obviously, it's being constructed. That'll be finished, where they're going to be able to bring in the 18-wheelers, those big trucks for the big concerts and to have big events, whatever those events may be. And Dr. Scott and company, now it's up to them to bring in those events because it is a moneymaker now that they are the owners and they're running the show at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium. And as Dr. Scott said, we're looking at much more than 7 football games at the stadium. We're looking at a lot of different events. So that was all positive. We'll have Tigers football coach Charles Huff on the show tomorrow. He will join us at 9:05. And then also yesterday, it was announced. We already knew that the Tigers were going back to the Bahamas to play in that event. Yesterday, I think it was John Rothstein who tweeted out that Memphis will be playing in their section of the tournament. If I could find this darn thing, it's the Battle for Atlantis, Thanksgiving week. They'll be involved with Penn State, Wake Forest, and another team to be announced. And then on the other side of the bracket is Marquette, Texas A&M, Virginia, and a fourth team to be announced also there. So 2 more teams to be announced, but Wake, Penn State, Virginia, Marquette, Texas A&M, and the Tigers returning to the Bahamas. Battle for Atlantis, Thanksgiving week. And then they turn around playing Thanksgiving week, and on Sunday they head to Chicago. That's where they're playing Dayton in the neutral court game, the American Conference versus the A-10 battle. So a lot of news involving the University of Memphis yesterday.
Yeah, lots of good news. That's good. Good. You know, we needed some positive, uplifting stuff yesterday in the city.
We certainly did.
So getting some good news on the Tigers side of things certainly was a very nice thing to have yesterday.
Got a text from Brett, and he brought up Lenny Bias. Of course, your point was it's been, 25 years since the last death of a active NBA player, Bobby Phills. Yeah, Len Bias, who was drafted, everybody knows that story. One of my favorite athletes of all time from the University of Maryland, who never played a game for the Celtics and unfortunately died of a cocaine overdose the night after being drafted by the Celtics. And that was 40 years ago. 40 years ago. Some other sorry to be the bearer of the sad news today. I saw this yesterday. Lou Graham died, not of foreigner fame, but the golfer who won the 1975 U.S. Open Championship. And I bring that up because Lou Graham played at the University of Memphis, then Memphis State. He was a golfer at Memphis, and he passed away. Charlie Young, a tight end for years in the NFL. I remember him because he started with the Eagles, and I was living in South Jersey. Eagles, Rams, 49ers, Seahawks, Super Bowl champion, 3-time Pro Bowler. He passed away yesterday. Just a wicked, ugly day yesterday. A couple of other notes before we take our timeout and head to hour 2, where we'll be joined right off the bat by DeMichael Cole. Kyle Schwarber last night, Major League Baseball, hit a home run in his 5th straight game, and now leads the majors with 17 dingers. Do you know what the record is? That tied the Phillies' all-time record for consecutive games with a home run.
I believe it's 8.
So he's got a ways to go as far as that's concerned. And then also
Don Mattingly and maybe Ken Griffey Jr., maybe something like that. I can't remember for sure, but I think it's 8.
And then also yesterday, the Redbirds announcing that Blaze Jordan, friend of the show, product of DeSoto Central High School, was named the St. Louis Cardinals Minor League Player of the Month. Of course, is with the Redbirds, hit 276, 5 homers, 6 doubles, 13 runs batted in over 22 games. So congratulations to Blaze Jordan. The Redbirds are in town this week. We got a lot going on. Of course, the PGA Championship is this week. It will begin tomorrow. We'll be joined by Steve Sands from the Golf Channel on NBC. We also have the Preakness Stakes that'll be run on Saturday at DeRosa. Our handicapper, our insider for horse racing, will join us on Friday. The race is Saturday again at Laurel, not at Pimlico, because of the refurbishment going on, the renovations happening at Pimlico in Baltimore, Maryland. That's 1 hour in the books. We come back with hour number 2. We'll talk with DeMichael Cole about the passing of Brandon Clark and also the hope for the Grizzlies moving forward with the NBA draft a month away. Now that we know they're picking 3rd, they're picking 16th, they're picking 32nd. What does he expect them to do? You're tuned into Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
You have opinions?
I think it's over.
Of course you do.
I don't think it's that simple.
Everyone does.
I got all the answers.
Hit us up on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener line at 360-8255.
Chris Price here with Metro Builders. In the wake of recent storms in the Mid-South, we saw severe damage, and our prayers go out to all those impacted. Believe it or not, much of this damage has still not been discovered. Most of us do not look up and take notice to displaced shingles, small water stains on our ceilings, and many of the silent ways water attacks our homes. This type of silent damage is unsightly, and if left for a period of time, become unhealthy to you and your family. At Metro Builders, our team of Hague-certified technicians and fully trained estimators are ready to come out, evaluate any concern concerns you may have. From climbing your roof and evaluating your shingles or TPO to opening a wall or ceiling for further inspection. We get paid to look up and climb. If you have an insurance claim that requires restoration or need a contractor that accepts all insurance carrier scopes, Metro Builders understands the way to restore a home or office either back to its pre-existing condition or upgrading that space. Call me. 901-375-1717. That's 901-375-1717 or metrobuildersmemphis.com.
It's time to get your backyard ready for the ultimate pool party with a little help from Family Leisure. If you've been sitting on the fence about taking the plunge with a pool, now's the time to take the dive. You want an above-ground pool? Done. Starting at $39.99, and that's with installation. You want an in-ground pool? Take your pick. They start at under $50,000. Accessorize that pool with a patio furniture set starting at just $9.99. Outdoor sectionals, they start at $12.99. In fact, all in-stock patio furniture sets are priced to move. And with select patio furniture sets, you'll get a free umbrella and base. Okay, you aren't looking to get into a pool just yet? Family Leisure has hot tubs that start at just $34.99. Get in shape or stay in shape with a swim spa starting at $16,999. Get your backyard, front yard, side yard, whatever, ready for fun. Family Leisure, Whitten Road at I-40, where family and fun come together.
Listen each and every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. and join Ottawild Presbyterian Church for worship. Ottawild is a PCUSA church located in Midtown Memphis.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good morning, T-Dots. Out here working with a couple of accidents. Heavier than it was over here on 240, especially coming westbound here at Walnut Grove as traffic builds inbound on Sam Cooper coming off the interstate. Starting to pick up pretty good coming up from the south now with more volume northbound 55 up through South Haven. Hey, bridal season just around the corner. Shop local at Weimer's Jewelry. You'll be glad you did. You always save money when you go there first. Weimer's Jewelry, 7525 Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck, you're on time traffic.
Memphis's original sports station. We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis and W253DF Memphis.
Now back to Sports 56 mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers.
Genuine diamonds, baby.
Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, everyone. 8:02 the time. Hour number 2 here on Sports 56 Mornings, the Wednesday, May 13th, 2026 edition. Greg Gaston, Eli Savoy, J. Ham with you. We're live and local, broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studios. Family Leisure, where family and fun come together. Summer right around the corner. It's time to get those backyards ready for the ultimate pool party. They got all types of great deals, including above-ground pool starting at $39.99, installed in-ground pool starting at $49,999. You mentioned this ad, you get $200 off any pool or spa purchase at Family Leisure, 2120 Whitten Road, just north of I-40. Already up to 60 degrees, feels like 66, but it's going to get to 85 today, mostly sunny, and then the rest of the week looks really nice. By Friday, could even reach 90. And the weekend right now looks to be very nice before some rain comes in early next week. So not too shabby whatsoever. DeMichael Cole joins us in just a moment from Chicago, Illinois. That's where the NBA Combine is going on. But, of course, we got a lot of things to talk about with our friend from the Commercial Appeal, DeMichael Cole.
2 watches, that's 12. Come through and slam on you. I'm in the air.
It's time to talk some Grizzlies basketball. Joining Greg and Eli is DeMichael Cole, Grizzlies beat writer for the Commercial Appeal. Here's DeMichael with Greg and Eli.
He is indeed DeMichael Cole from the Commercial Appeal, Grizzlies beat writer, also the co-host of the Locked On Grizz podcast. And I can tell you right now that he and Joe Molinax have a podcast that's up right now that you can check out. Remembering the life and career of Brandon Clark. You can follow him on Twitter at DeMichael C. He joins us every Wednesday, and today joining us from Chicago, Illinois. Good morning, DeMichael.
Good morning, guys. How we doing?
Heavy hearts. Tough to start the show and really get through the first segment there with the news. We were done yesterday with our show before we caught wind of the news. So at least from a standpoint of the show, we knew we weren't on the air and got shocked by it, but others did around the city who were broadcasting at that time. You can't describe it any other way than absolutely shocking. There are deaths and we know people get sick and things of that nature. But when this seemed to come out of nowhere and somebody at the age of 29 passes away, it's jolting to the system. What were your thoughts and reaction when you heard the news?
Yeah, man. Just disbelief. Disbelief. I mean, we're the same age. That was something that we used to talk about. I believe he's like a month and some change older than me. But yeah, just disbelief. You know, I found out a little while before the news had officially came out. But yeah, just as I was tracking, I guess, talking to people and learning that this was a reality, it still was pretty surprising to me as I was writing and everything, and you know, I knew that, you know, like those statements, you know, from the Grizzlies, from his agency, and I knew that those things were about to come out, but that was when it felt real to me. You know, It's like, wow, even though I had, you know, already written stuff out and prepared a story, it didn't feel real until you seen, you know, the birth date and the year 2026, you know, between the dash and things like that. But yeah, just a real moment.
Yeah, it's one of those, because much earlier there was a lot of stuff earlier in the day, kind of some rumor stuff out there, and you kind of hope that it's not true. Like maybe this is just all one big, I don't know, misunderstanding or something. But then, yeah, once that statement comes and it becomes official, it's just like, wow. I mean, it's crazy to think. And you know, we were talking about earlier, like, and just from comments from former teammates and everything else, like he seemed to be like that ultra positive, always smiling guy. Everything else, again, you never know for sure what's going on inside or there, but and it's certainly what these injuries, the toll they took on him mentally. But you know, everybody just seeming like all his former teammates just talking about just a guy that, you know, brought that energy and was always seemingly in a good mood.
Yeah, and he's definitely been through a lot though, and that's one of those things where, yeah, when you look at him play, you see the energy, right? Whether it's the alley-oops, whether it's the way he's communicated on defense. You know, I'm always at FedEx Forum, especially. We sit over there really close, and you can hear, you know, the guys who are always barking, you know, and communicating. And he was one of the main guys doing that. You know, for the Grizzlies, you saw how important, you know, this whole thing was for him. But at the same time, you can't discount, like, yeah, we see one thing, but the other thing is, since March 2023, it's been injury after injury after injury, and not just little, you know, ankle sprains or a little grade 1 hammy or anything like that. Like, he had the Achilles, and that was a long rehab. Then he played, you know, a good chunk of that season, a couple seasons later, and then he had the PCL sprain that delayed the start to the season for this year for him, and then he finally got back. He had the calf injury, and he only played 2 games, so it was, you know, it was a lot. You know, we really just hadn't seen, you know, much of Brandon Clark on the floor, and that was kind of like one of the sad parts about it. It's like you saw him at his peak, right? We saw what he could be and what he has been, you know, for the Grizzlies. But yeah, you wonder a lot, you know, when you take something away from a guy, something that they love so much. And I've heard players talk about this from different perspectives, from the standpoint of when you retire, right? You know, like people always think, oh, players just cruise into retirement. They got all this money in their bank account, and life goes on. They go to Barbados or somewhere, but the reality is you're doing something your entire life, and whether it's injury, whether it's retirement or anything, it's suddenly, you know, snatched from you, and you got to adjust.
Yeah, we don't. That's why I say, like, and when it's this, or like you're not, when you get to retirement, like you can kind of like understand you're getting towards the end. When at 29 years old, your body fails you through no fault of your own. So like, nobody can imagine what that's like to have that, like, oh crap, this is what I've done my whole life, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it anymore. Yeah,
that's pretty much, one of the realizations there. But yeah, we still saw him in the locker room, and he was, as I pointed out in, the stories that I wrote, like he was still very active, and even probably about to be more active than before in the community, because you have Grizzlies events and you have, player-led events, and he was starting to do more of those, right? He created the Brandon Clark Foundation just last year. And I went to a couple of the events that he had. He had one around Christmas time for the Boys and Girls Club over at Buckman. He had an event in September, that was for reading literacy and bringing awareness to that. So yeah, it's a challenging, time for so many people in the Memphis community, the Grizzlies, the NBA as a whole. I've been talking to people out in Chicago just about, how the NBA is a brotherhood.
Yes,
and,
yes.
One of those things that the typical fan overlooks, because the fan sees the competitiveness all the time, right? You want guys to be rivals. You want guys on the Grizzlies to not like guys on the Lakers, or, a guy on the Grizzlies like Brandon Clark was teammates in college with a guy like Rui Hachimura at Gonzaga. But even further than that, there aren't a lot of players, in the NBA at the end of the day. So when NBA guys see each other, there's a relatability that, you are a guy who deal with some of the casual things that I deal with, from not being able to go in a grocery store or to the mall without being recognized, and having to eat in certain sections of the restaurant because you don't want to be in the public too much. So they bond and they share over these things, or just being rich to a degree. Yeah. So I've been talking to a lot of guys out here just about how, the NBA brotherhood really felt this loss.
Well, and also, and then we'll get to get the stuff that's a lot happier and more joyous for the Grizzlies. But first of all, we don't know everything, right? We don't know everything, but we've seen and we've heard about stories where, people put on a happy face, right? When they're in public, they put on a happy face, they're smiling, they do all the right things. But when they're maybe alone by themselves, that's where maybe they're hurting the most, and depression can run in. And don't underestimate the arrest, where, who knows? I didn't know him well enough. You knew him, but probably didn't know him well enough. That arrest, maybe that shattered him, maybe an embarrassment. There could be a lot of things that played into that. So we're not going to speculate. We lost a great guy, beloved in the community, beloved by his teammates. And it's terrible, as I mentioned to Michael, anytime this happens. But after the sky-high moment of Sunday, when the Grizzlies got the third pick in the NBA draft with the draft lottery, and this happens, it happened technically Monday night. It's just amazing. You go from euphoria to depression. But the Grizzlies, they're going to have to move on. We're all going to have to move on. And you're at the NBA Combine, and you're looking at some of the players where a couple of them, right, could be future Grizzlies. They get the sixth pick, or the third pick, I should say, the 16th pick and the 32nd pick. What are you seeing that you think is important right now at the Combine? We had the measurements, but I know some of these guys, most of the big names aren't working out. What are you getting out of the Combine?
Yesterday was a big day, but obviously I wasn't really, around as much, as initially anticipated. But I think the main thing is, you talk to people and we're sizing up the board, and there's a sense that the Grizzlies are just one of those teams that kind of control the board in a way. People want to know what the Grizzlies are going to do, because the Grizzlies have 3 picks in the top 35. I think OKC is the next closest. They have 12, 17, and 37, I believe. But the Grizzlies have 3, 16, and 32. So they can essentially work out anyone. they can essentially draft anyone, and like no one's out of their range, with these prospects. So that's one of the things. And then of course there's debate with the top guys, right? Whereas Cam Boozer feels like such a safe prospect. I think of the top four, he probably did the best, yesterday with the agility drills, with the shooting drills, and just overall, how he handled it. Today we'll talk to the players, so stay tuned for my coverage of that. We'll talk to Cam Boozer, Caleb Wilson, AJ Darren Peterson here in a few hours, probably around the 1 o'clock hour. So we'll talk to those guys a little bit later today. But yeah, that's probably just some of the things early on.
Based off what has happened there with the measurements, the drills yesterday, just talking to people that are up there, I assume that it has remained quite clear that those four guys are in a group by themselves.
Yeah, I don't think anything is going to change that, because at the end of the day, all of this stuff is fine and dandy, but the film is the most important thing, and you can't discount the film just because I put it like this: when we're talking about the NFL Combine, if a guy runs a 4.240, well, turn the tape on and show me 4 touchdowns of over 40-yard passes.
Yeah.
If he doesn't have that, then I mean, is it just off the court speed, or does it not translate to the games? Because if you're running a 4.240, you should be taking the top off the defense. So it's like you have to be careful. I think someone pointed it out. I remember last year, Con Knippel, shot the cover off the ball at Duke, and he came here to the Combine, and it was the wing three-pointers. He really struggled. I think on one of them, he was like 8 or 9 of 25, or right wing or left wing on three-pointers. Mm-hmm. So, sometimes you got to take this stuff with a grain of salt, and quite frankly, trust the bigger picture. I always say, to me, for the top guys, this is more just about the interviews and how they handle, being in these environments. Whereas for the middle tier, for the, Ibuka Okores, for the Haynes Steinbach, Cam Carr, Swain, for those guys, this is more of the opportunity of, hey, we're projected to go late to mid-first round. Let's see if we can jump to the top 10. Let's see if we can jump. For the Cedric Howard to the past, right? Cedric Howard was mocked late 20s, possibly early 30s, and he jumped up. Jalen Williams, OKC, I remember the same thing. He jumped up. So it's like it's for those guys more than, to me, the top prospects.
I think it's a great point. I mean, you have so much tape. These guys have been scouted. They've seen them live. If you have one bad shooting day at the Combine, it shouldn't change the mind of these GMs and talent evaluators. I think you're absolutely right. But if you go in there and just go crazy, it's going to put you on the radar. Michael Cole joining us from Chicago on the Sissy's Log Cabin guest line. So the top four, everybody's in agreement. We know who they are. The only thing I could think of right here with Washington and Utah, and I could see where Utah and Washington flip. I could see that. I don't see any of them trading down, moving out of one or two, but I could see them flipping. But to me, that means DeBance is gone. Either way, DeBance is gone. So it should be Peterson, but it may not be Peterson. People are coming around to realize that, Boozer was great and he won all the awards, and they're trying to find things that they don't like about it, but they can't do that. All they could say is, like, he's boring and it's a boring pick. I don't think we're out of the woods that Washington could trade with Utah and DeBance can go to Utah, who they want, and then all of a sudden Washington could take Boozer. I think it's either for Memphis, the Grizzlies, for the first pick, their third overall pick, their first pick. It's either going to be Peterson, Wilson, or Boozer. I don't think it's a surefire thing that Peterson isn't available at 3. And what would you do in those scenarios?
Yeah, it's definitely not a surefire thing. And quite frankly, again, the Grizzlies, I think, will be prepared. Again, through when talking to people throughout this process, like you get a good sense that when we talk about at number one, they're going to do their due diligence. Number two, talk to people about what Utah's going to do at 2. You hear, well, they're not completely set on the guy. They like this guy a little. They like that guy a little. And I think that it's going to remind people a little bit of the 2022 draft. You know, if you remember that one, that was Paolo, Chet, Jabari as the top 3. And there was constant movement. Jabari was getting number 1 buzz a couple weeks before that draft. Chet Holmgren was getting number 1 buzz. Paolo was actually, of the 3, mostly mocked at number 3. And I believe it was like that last day or the day before the draft where the Paolo buzz just suddenly took off and he ended up being the number 1 pick. Not to say that's going to happen this year because, again, the difference is those guys kind of played the same position. So you were able to, that's why there was a little bit more obscurity there. Mm-hmm. And you look at Washington and Utah, their front court, at least from a starting standpoint with power forwards and centers, they look to be kind of set.
Yeah.
Like Utah, you got Laurie probably playing the 3, you got Jaren playing the 4, you got Walker Kessler playing the 5. That seems almost like a sure bet. And then with Washington, you got Alex Sarr and Anthony Davis. Like you traded for Anthony Davis. Now, does Anthony Davis want to be there? That's a whole other conversation. But that's kind of the way the roster is shaping up right now. So you got that whole situation and whatnot. Whereas it's a little bit more clear at number 3 with the Grizzlies that they have a Jaren Jackson Jr. sized hole at power forward that can be filled. So I do think that we won't really know what these teams are going to do until later. Again, the Grizzlies started working out players last week, and it's not these guys. Are they going to bring these guys in, over the next month? And that's when you're probably going to hear some movement. We'll see what happens with Washington, but I'm not discounting anything. I'm not discounting anything because all 3 of these guys, even Caleb Wilson, tremendously talented players. You can't go wrong. Like if Cam Boozer goes number 1, I don't think you can go wrong there. He goes number 4, I don't think you can go wrong. I don't think you can go wrong with Darren Peterson at number 1. So it's like you're going to have to really do some scouting and really dive in on these players because they're all going to be really good.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like there's going to be a bad choice amongst those 4. Like, I mean, it just... Now, the one thing, when you brought up that other draft, one of the things that was that year, the whole thing was that Paolo Banchero didn't want to go to Orlando and didn't work out for Orlando. Now they still end up drafting. Is there any, it doesn't seem like it, but is there any whispers at all or anything about any of these guys like not wanting to go to any of these places at the top?
Oh, man, I'd say too soon right now because, we're at the draft lottery and, their families were there. The guys were sitting there and everything. And, it seems like they were just happy to be in the moment, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of those things, we've seen in the past. It's when you sit down, with your people, with your reps, with your close confidants or whatever, and, you really dive into these places and, their organizations, and you learn things. And you think of a guy like Cam Boozer. His father is Carlos Boozer. Carlos Boozer's played with some guys who recently played with the Grizzlies and whatnot. So he can probably, make a phone call or two and say, hey, what was your experience like, in Memphis? Or, the other guys who, with certain agencies, right? Like, I think, Carlos Boozer spent considerable, 3 or 4 years playing with Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose played with the Grizzlies a couple years ago. So if he wants to, he can probably find a way.
Yes.
So it's one of those things where I think it's still early on, but you definitely don't rule out those things. It's always, it's a real thing. A lot of times when you talk about players not wanting to go to places.
Yeah, I think they're very concerned about the hotels in Memphis, so I don't know if the 4 will come. I'm kidding. All right, last thing for you. I know you're busy. You're going to do those interviews, and we're looking forward to reading about that at the Commercial Appeal. And you're doing a great job, by the way, with Michael Wallace as well on Grind City Media with those videos. But the possibility of trading back into, assuming that, again, they keep their third overall pick, trading back into the lottery, late in the lottery, What are those possibilities in your mind right now? It's still early in the game, I understand, but what do you think?
No, very possible. And I think people forget that it was just last year. They had number 16. They jumped to 11. They went from 16 to 11 last year to get Cedric Howard. So we saw in that case they traded a future first. So anytime, we talk about trading up, you got to weigh what it's going to cost. And with the Grizzlies last year, again, it cost a future first, but they have that flexibility. They have all of their first-round picks going for it, and they own several from other teams, unprotected ones at that, some unprotected ones, some swaps as well. So they have the flexibility to do it. It's just going to be how the board plays out. I think there are a few prospects that make a lot of sense, to go after. So, we'll see what happens.
All right. He's DeMichael Cole from the Commercial Appeal. Read all his stories there. Check out the Locked On Grizz podcast. He co-hosts that with Joe Mullinax, and they look back at the career of Brandon Clark, the impact he made. So when you get a moment, listen to that podcast. Also follow him on Twitter at DeMichael C, and catch him every Wednesday right here on Sports 56 Mornings. Thanks, DeMichael.
All right, take care, guys.
You too. Yeah, I'm starting to think more and more like see, here's the thing. He was talking about all those bigs in Utah. We know, but don't we always hear that it's best player available? Isn't it best player available? And no, it's best player available to a certain extent, but it's also need. You got to take need into consideration. So if it was best player available, and let's say Utah traded with Washington and got the one, they're taking Debanza, right? Debanza. I think he's the best player. Maybe they think he's the best player. But a lot of people think Boozer's the surefire best player, number one guy. So it wouldn't necessarily be being taken the best player available. And Debanza, who's 6'8", is a little more versatile, I think, than Boozer. I just have a feeling Boozer is going to go 1 or 2 now, and the Grizzlies will have the choice of Peterson and Wilson.
Good.
And you want him to take Peterson. I just got this weird feeling, but I'll be happy with, like we just talked about, with any of these guys. Any of these guys. Boozer's the consensus when you look at the mocks, but man, I just got a weird feeling that Boozer's going to be one of the first 2 selected. Hour number 2 of the program brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers at 4900 Poplar between Mendenhall and St. Nick, and on the web at gaddisjewelers.com. They're your bridal, engagement, and anniversary jeweler headquarters. If you're going to get engaged this summer, this fall, whenever the case is, make sure that James Gaddis Jewelers is one of the jewelers you checked out for those beautiful diamond engagement rings, wedding rings, personally designed wedding sets. They have both the natural earth diamonds and lab-grown diamonds. Great value at James Gaddis Jewelers. Great customer service. Just check out all those terrific reviews. The staff is second to none. If you have gold, silver, diamonds you want to sell, they'll buy them from you. And they, right now, record high on the gold. Gold is great right now. Good time to sell your gold. They have beautiful watches of all types, Bolivar watches for men and for women, necklaces, bracelets, pendants, all different types of rings, birth dates as well. You got your birthstones. They have them all for you at James Gaddis Jewelers. They're open Monday through Friday, 10 to 5, Saturday, 10 to 4, closed on Sunday. When you head on over to James Gaddis Jewelers, tell them you heard it here on Sports 56 Mornings. James Gaddis Jewelers, second hour sponsor of Sports 56 Mornings. You're tuned in to Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Available locally on your radio dial as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Wherever you are, it's easy to stay tuned to Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Paid advertisement for non-attorney spokesperson. Victory Legal Network is not a law firm. Cases may be referred to participating law firms. Compensation is not guaranteed.
Attention parents. Was your baby born premature and then given Similac or Enfamil brand formula in the hospital? Studies now show that premature infants given cow's milk-based baby formula face a much higher risk of developing necrotizing enterocolitis, or NEC. If you or your loved one had a premature baby and was given one of these baby formulas, you may qualify for significant compensation. Visit govictory33.com now to see if you qualify. A recent jury award awarded $60 million in compensation to the family of a child who developed NEC. Families are now taking action. Visit govictory33.com now to see if you qualify for significant compensation. If your baby was given Similac or Enfamil and later diagnosed with NEC, you may qualify for significant compensation, but time is limited. Strict filing deadlines apply, and waiting could mean losing your opportunity for justice. Don't wait. Visit govictory33.com today to see if you qualify. That's govictory33.com.
Paid for by Victory Legal Network.
Unlock your new go-to spot, Codes Dispensary in Steele, Missouri, just over an hour from Memphis. When you're ready for a legal, reliable option, they're right up the road. Explore the full menu of top-shelf products in-store and online. Short on time? Order ahead and cruise through the drive-thru for a quick pickup. Stack rewards while you stock up with Club Codes. Earn points for every dollar spent. Codes Dispensary, now open in Steele, Missouri. Supreme cannabis that's worth the drive. Learn more at codesdispensary.com. That's codesdispensary.com.
Hey, you ready to bang?
Bangers Pickleball in South Haven is now open with 10 courts, a restaurant, and 3 bars.
New to pickleball?
No problem. Take a free Bangers 101 class to learn. Bangers offers a great time for everyone, and there's no membership required. Bangers even has events for you non-pickleballers like mahjong, trivia, whiskey, and wine tasting. Bangers Pickleball has it all. All the rage, all the fun, all for you. Please dink responsibly at Bangers Pickleball, 6787 Snowden Lane, South Haven, Mississippi. Let's bang.
This traffic brought to you by Old Dominic Distillery. Come for the spirits, stay for the experience. Cheers to Memphis. Learn more at olddominic.com.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good morning. Still building right now with a little bit more volume westbound I-40, especially over here passing 269, coming in from Fayette County right now into Shelby County on 40 West. It's a steady flow of traffic there all the way down 40 till you get to Sycamore View Road. So it's heavy in the Midtown area, pretty much on schedule northbound 240 here at Lamar. Hey, bridal season just around the corner. Shop local at Weimer's Jewelry, conveniently located 7525 Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Now, back to Sports 56 Mornings.
Isn't it a lovely morning?
On Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers. Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, everyone. 8:31 the time, hour number 2 here on Sports 56 Mornings. We'll talk much more about the NBA draft and the prospects with James Fletcher. That'll be coming up at 9:05.
By the way, Ken Griffey Jr., Don Mattingly, Dale Long was the third one that I forgot.
I knew there was an obscure guy. Dale Long.
That Pirates? Had the 8 home runs, 8 home run in 8 consecutive games, which is the Major League Baseball record. We did get a text message, but somebody said, "Rest in peace, Brandon Clark." And they just asked the question. I'm sure there will be people that ask this question, like, what happens as far as the roster is concerned? Like, I don't know what happens with the contract. Like, I have no clue how that is handled. The contract for next season, all that stuff. I have no idea what happens in a situation like that.
Yeah, I was thinking about it after the initial shock yesterday. I was thinking about it, and I said, is it right to bring that up on the show today? I mean, the texter asked a legitimate question. I mean, I would think that it comes off the books.
Yeah, that would be my guess, but I have no clue. I have no idea.
I'm on the hunt for it right now.
Again, this doesn't happen. Like, we haven't seen this, so it's just not something that you go, well, what happened when this would happen with it? I mean, just this something that does not happen. So I have no idea exactly. My guess is that, but I do not know.
I mean, again, I feel it's so strange that we were talking about Brandon Clark yesterday on the show. And we've talked about him, obviously, since the arrest and with the injuries and 1 year left on the contract, right?
Yes.
And I said, I don't know how you bring him back. I mean, gosh.
What's guaranteed will pay out to the estate, and everything else goes to insurance.
Right,
but does it
it doesn't count against the cap.
No, yeah.
That's what I thought. That's what I figured. Yeah,
that's what I figured. But.
So and Brandon Clark was not married, correct? No children, right?
That's correct.
So mom, I guess that would be the estate would be. God, so it's so sad. But again, it's eerie because we were talking about it yesterday. So I thought there was a good chance they would release him. Again, he had the legal issue that was in front of him and the injuries and all that. But now it's just, again, how do you?
They're saying when Bobby Fields passed in 2000, the full contract was paid out.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, he signed on the dotted line. But yeah, from a roster standpoint, I don't think it changes anything because I don't think they were depending on BC to be able to come back. Again, serious injuries that he's had, like basically back to back. And I didn't expect him to be a player that was going to be depended on for big minutes. And I didn't even know what his status was from an injury standpoint going into the fall. It's a shame that they don't have to worry about that now for that reason of the tragic death of Brandon Clark. But if there was thoughts like, maybe BC would be able to come back from the injury and that will help out with the bigs, obviously that's erased. So the importance of a big in this draft or in a trade, free agency, they have so many assets. There's so many different ways to do it. And that's why I think the moves that will be made off season, right now, you couldn't even guess as to what will happen with this team. We know some of the pieces, and we know where they're going to build around, but the uncertainty of Zach Edey's foot is certainly a concern. With the young wings, with Coward and Wells, they feel really good where they are with that. Couple of other guys that they feel good about. But that's it. It's going to be a lot of new players, a lot of new faces. If they keep all 3 draft picks, that's 3 draft picks. That's 3 new faces. But as we talked about with DeMichael, I would not be surprised whatsoever if they somehow move up, maybe using the rest of the assets in this draft, maybe another asset in another draft since they have all those picks, and try to get in a position maybe to take one of those guards. It all depends on those guys, on those teams right now, and what they think of those guys that will be available at this time. The draft will be incredibly interesting, and mainly because of the team that we cover, because they're going to be one of the most intriguing, if not the most intriguing team in the offseason with the draft and with the John Morant situation.
Well, that's the thing with, as Michael said, with the fact that when you got 3 of the top 32, I mean, that is a plethora of assets. And again, being in that top 4 with the group of 4 that seems to be separate from everybody else, that's a good place to be. And then you've got that, with those other 2 picks, what do you want to do with those? How do you handle those picks? Do you just want to pick at 16 or 32? Do you want to try and move up? Do you again, with the fact that all of the picks you picked up between Desmond Bain and Jared Jackson Jr., there's a whole lot of different ways the Grizzlies have the ability to go through trades.
Did you notice the other team that he mentioned that have also the 3 picks? Oklahoma City. I mean, as soon as he said that, I'm shaking my head.
Well, that's the thing. They don't need to add anybody. So they certainly can be active with their picks and decide what they want to do, because they certainly don't have any needs. They really got to go get what?
Right.
They've got too many guys. They're just stockpiled.
And sometimes general managers or decision makers within an organization will overthink it. Sam Presti's not about to overthink it. As I've said, why do you need to have 76 teams in the NCAA basketball tournament? Don't mess around with a Picasso. Right now, Oklahoma City's a Picasso. Unless we see something different when they play, more than likely San Antonio, and then in the finals, either the Knicks, Cleveland, or Detroit, and they have a hiccup and they lose, and then we'll say, okay, well. But right now, they are gaining steam towards what will be a dynasty. And so why mess with it? Yeah, people say, well, you could tweak here, tweak. No. You don't need to tweak. Now, you're going to have to make decisions financially, and you may lose some guys. We talked about Lou Dort and Hartenstein, who could be dealt. We'll see what happens with that. And that's a guy I think the Grizzlies, if he's available, should go after in Isaiah Hartenstein.
I got a text from John who says, not to get too sentimental, but now would be a great time for Kleiman to keep Ja and give the city something it desperately needs. It's time to put the differences aside and get back to winning basketball with a player who was once considered a face of the NBA. Again, it's not going to happen. I hate to burst your bubble. One, again, it would be great if they got back to winning basketball at all. And it would be great if saying that keeping Ja meant you were absolutely getting back to winning basketball. But you can't say that. So it is what it is. They've made their decision. I do not see them turning a 180 and changing that decision.
Ja doesn't get all the blame, but really the downfall began with Ja. And it would be ironic if he's still here, Dez traded, Jaren Jackson Jr. traded, and Brandon Clark passed away. I mean, and he's still the lone survivor. I think it's a clear rebuild, and you're not rebuilding with Ja still here. As much as he's beloved, and I know he is, we get calls, we get texts, I get them DM'd to me about it. But it's just from everything, and again, this isn't like we're saying this is what's coming from the organization. So again, I don't know when it will happen. It could be a draft night move, could be after, could be before. We have no idea. Right now, the Grizzlies organization, they got the combine going on, so I'm sure they're represented there, but they got the Brandon Clark tragedy that they're mourning right now, and then it's get back to work. You got 5.5 weeks before the draft. As DeMichael said, they've already had players in, probably players more than likely would be second-round considerations. Maybe that 16th pick. I don't know who was in. They've kept that incredibly secret. Michael Wallace told us that earlier in the week. Used to be where they would announce which players will be there. So the media knew, and they could be there to interview afterwards. I don't even know if they're allowed to interview afterwards anymore. It is amazing how secretive they are. But I think overall in all athletics, especially collegiately, they've become, it's almost a world of paranoia. You don't get the access you used to get.
And one thing, Ja yesterday tweeted out the thing about Brandon's a rise to read, the whole thing. So, like, again, one thing I'll say about Ja continues to support other things in the community, stuff like that. It's not like Ja's completely turned his back on everything.
Right.
Like with this, he put that out there. He wants people to help support that foundation and everything else in Brandon's memory.
And he loves his teammates. Nobody's saying Ja's a bad guy. He got into bad situations, then he got hurt. And his skills when he played last year were diminished. His numbers were diminished. Nobody, by any stretch of imagination, is saying Ja's a bad guy. And Ja put the Grizzlies on the map internationally. The core four certainly put the Grizzlies on the map as far as a team to be reckoned with, an organization to be reckoned with. Maybe it started with when Jerry West decided he was coming to Memphis and Hubie Brown won Coach of the Year. But then there were some lean years. The core four put them solidly on the map. Like, you don't want to go to Memphis. You don't want to play the Grizzlies on their home court because of the fan base and because of how physical they are. It is a tough place to walk out of there with a win. The grindhouse, all that stuff, that's all true. And then the next gen they didn't live up to expectations for whatever reasons. Maybe it was bad chemistry. Injuries, of course, a major, major part of it. But Ja Morant put the organization into a different stratosphere as an international entity. People know Ja Morant, but they know Ja Morant, Memphis Grizzlies. They're associated with each other. And you can't take that away. But just because of that fact doesn't mean that he should be kept. All right, we'll take a break. And then when we come back, we got a lot of college football news from yesterday.
Fleet Feet, that's the place to go to get all your running gear. Go in to see them at either one of their 2 locations, and they will take a look at the way you run, the way you walk, and fit you with shoes that are just right for you. Shoes are all a little bit different in where they have the support and the way people walk or run. Everybody's a little bit different about where they put the weight in the different parts of their feet, and they can make sure that you've got the shoes that are best suited for you so you can avoid injuries or any other issues when you're out there exercising or just on a daily basis, when you're on your feet a lot. Getting shoes that are just right for you can make that big difference for you. Plus, you could get involved with them and their group runs, races, and things around town that they sponsor. It's just all about the running community over at Fleet Feet. They've got the location in East Memphis. That's in the Laurelwood Shopping Center. And they've got a location out in Collierville, right there at the corner of Poplar and Houston Levy, next door to the Hueys in that shopping center there. That's where you'll find the 2 locations of Fleet Feet.
You're listening to Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Join the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin, for Wolo and Friends. Weekday mornings from 10 to 11 here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
I have solved one of life's great puzzles.
That seems really unlikely.
I have.
Okay, what puzzle?
What to give people as wedding presents when they're out of town.
It's not that big of a puzzle.
Oh, yeah? What would you do?
I would ship them some yummy Central Barbecue. So what were you going to say?
Ship them some yummy Central Barbecue? Because they have great packages.
Yeah, like the ribs pack, the pulled pork pack, even the combo pack.
This is all stuff that I was going to say.
I know. You're always going to go to the Central Barbecue well.
Hi, this is Troy Five-Ash, owner of Five-Ash Roof Services. I wanted to take a minute and discuss advertising with you. There are so many websites that list the best service provider in your area. Even the BBB has an accredited list. You know the one thing they all have in common? A company like mine has to pay to get on that list. So that begs the question, can those lists be trusted? You know what can be trusted? History. We've been around for almost 30 years providing customers with the best service and the best products that we possibly can. So if you need a roof, siding, or gutters, give us a call. We'll come talk to you and let you decide for yourself whether or not we know what we're talking about. Five-Ash Roof Services. Best products, best warranties, and in many cases, the best price. We're fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Five-Ash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
Sound familiar? At Mattress Firm, we understand there are many problems that can keep you up at night, like snoring, aches and pains, or sleeping hot. Our sleep experts have the unrivaled know-how to match you with a mattress that can help. And now at Mattress Firm, get any size mattress for one low price starting at $219.99. For the great sleep you deserve, visit Mattress Firm. We make sleep easy. Restrictions apply. See store or website for details.
Welcome to Triumph Auto Sales, where you'll have a great car buying experience. Triumph Auto Sales is your #1 source of quality pre-owned vehicles ranging from lease returns to new car trades, all at huge savings. Plus, Triumph has a full array of financing options to meet your needs. Find your next car online at triumphautosales.com or stop in today at 4875 Elmore Road. Triumph Auto Sales will help you get the vehicle you want at the price you need and the service you deserve. For a great car and a great experience from a local and family-owned business, visit Triumph Auto Sales.
Now back to Sports 56 Mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers.
To reveal the full spectrum of its dazzling color.
Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
People keep posting that damn Victor Wembanyama, Rudy Gobert play from last night, and I can't quit watching it. It is one of the funniest NBA plays I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen a player like literally look like a dog on the fake fetch throw. Like he does not know where the basketball is. He can't figure it out. And like it's being scored behind him, and then he finally looks up and goes, "Oh, there's the basketball." Like it's just like he just. It's one of the great plays I've ever seen, and everybody keeps posting it. I want to like save it on. Like I wish it was like my screensaver. I just think it's that hilarious.
Have they created a meme out of this yet? Because I think there's going to be a few with Victor Wembanyama as the years go on.
And then you got the reaction from Dylan Harper too. It's like he's become great with these reactions, and it's just like it's the perfect little gif. It's the gift that keeps on giving.
Not for Gobert. Awesome. Not for Gobert. Don't give him a Christmas present with that video in there.
Nobody like Rudy anyway, so
exactly. Like it's perfect, right? And it's French on French. Like it's not. We can't even. It's not. We're just French on French crime. Who cares?
So we love Wemby. We hate Rudy.
That's pretty much the consensus.
But we hated all Frenchmen.
Hey, I'm French.
I know. That's my point. And then again, if you missed it,
what about Boris Diaw? Boris Diaw's offended by that.
We love Boris Diaw. And of course, again, if you missed the news, the Memphis Tigers, according to several reports, have brought in a Frenchman, but he played at Florida Atlantic last year, Maxime Logie. So there you go. The French are taking over.
They are. It is. The French invasion in basketball is amazing.
Oh, they're on the way.
I mean, it's just
without
been
question.
They love basketball.
Yes, sir.
I mean, yeah, we just had the draft. Was it
22
2 years ago? Yeah, the draft where we had
24.
3 of the top whatever, like 7 picks or whatever, and or however many total first rounders. Like the French invasion is going on in basketball.
Yesterday on the program, we were talking a lot about the college football stuff with Lane Kiffin and the pile-on of Ole Miss or onto Ole Miss from Steve Sarkisian, even Dabo Sweeney, but the whole thing with Lane Kiffin and the article in Vanity Fair. As everybody knows, LSU rolls into Oxford this year, week 3, September 19th, and it's already been announced that will be on ABC. Now, we won't know for a while whether or not that will be game day. The thought is that it has to be, right? But College Game Day...
I'm going to put my money on it.
But College Game Day did announce, or ESPN did announce, that College Game Day will be in Baton Rouge, week 1 for LSU Clemson. So that would mean LSU would be involved in game day 2 out of the first 3 weeks. Now, 1 would be at home and 1 would be on the road. I don't think it matters, but game day absolutely has to be in Oxford. If not, what are they looking at? What could top that circus?
That is going to be, I really can't even guess as to what that atmosphere is going to be like in Oxford. There's been some crazy atmospheres down there. I don't think anything could even possibly approach what that's going to be.
I don't know if this is true, but somebody reported yesterday that right now, and I'm trying to find the city in Alabama, the closest place. What? I mean, it says you can't get a hotel room, but is Memphis all sold out? If you're staying in Memphis, they're going to drive down to Oxford. But anything close to Oxford is absolutely sold out.
I had some friends who they come down every year to an Ole Miss game, and they first said, "We're looking at the LSU game," and I said, "Look again. Don't. You're not doing it. You just don't stop. Quit.
Look away.
Get a different game.
Don't even remember you said those words uttered from your mouth."
And I'm like, "But if you want," I was like, "But hey, if you think about it, just go check hotel rates right now and then get back to me." And he texted back and said, "Yeah, we're looking at the Missouri game." I said, yeah. You are not doing the LSU game. You're just not doing it. It's that place. Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine. Like I would not want to be there. Honestly, it's going to be too nuts, I think, to be a part of that. By the way, John Summerall with the great response yesterday to Steve Sarkisian. Of course, the Florida coach with who used to coach at Ole Miss, said, "Grateful to coach at a top 10 public university that also offers advanced basket weaving."
The SEC meetings in a couple of weeks in Destin are going to be fun. But again, no announcement on game day. We expect that will be the case week 3 when LSU visits Ole Miss. But we do know LSU, Clemson, Baton Rouge, week number 1, the first game as head coach of LSU for Lane Kiffin versus the old curmudgeon, Dabo Sweeney.
The ABC start to the year their primetime games with LSU Clemson week 1, Ohio State Texas week 2, Ole Miss LSU week 3.
Pretty good.
Pretty good. That's a pretty solid start to the year for the ABC primetime games. There also was announced the Egg Bowl again will be played 11 a.m. on Black Friday. That's the first game of the tripleheader on Black Friday. So a lot of early season kickoff times, and then some of those special holiday type things announced by ABC and ESPN. Of course, Fox released its entire Friday night schedule as well. So a lot of those, obviously most of the kickoff times they wait, but they do give you some of those early season and special day kickoff times.
In other college football news, yesterday at the ACC spring meetings, no surprise, but it was pretty much a consensus with the ADs and the coaches for the respective schools that they support a 24-team playoff. One of the most vocal, Mike Norvell. I would think that the former Tiger head coach would not mind a system where there are many more playoff teams available, because we know that he's on life support. Mike needs a big season, but the coaches want it. The ADs want it. I don't know about Sankey and the whole thing with Petiti. I mean, it's just craziness. I'm not a big fan of 24. I guess I won't go crazy like I did with the NCAA tournament going to 76 for basketball, but I think 16 is a good number. 24 is a lot. They got to get the whole schedule figured out if they do that. But, yeah, the ACC pretty much a consensus. They probably had, maybe one or two dissenters, but as far as the consensus, they're all in on a 24-team playoff. We'll see if that comes to fruition.
It's pretty much everybody other than Greg Sankey at this point.
Sankey on an island by himself.
No, there may be some of the presidents.
Not an Epstein Island, but an island on.
There may be some of the presidents still, I guess, around the SEC maybe that don't want it to go to 24, but we know the coaches do. So it's basically Sankey at this point as the guy out there holding out.
And again, that would eliminate, in this case with the SEC championship and championship games around the country in different conferences. Would do away with that. One other college football note. This is at least some good news today. Mizzou star running back Ahmad Hardy is recovering after being shot in the leg. He will have rehab back at Missouri's campus in Columbia, Missouri. So he's out of the hospital, released. Again, it was because for a while there, we did not know where he was shot, like where on his body, but it was his leg. We still don't know, though, what the prognosis is as far as how long it will take, when he can get back to working out, getting ready for the football season. All that guy did was lead the SEC in rushing after coming over from Louisiana Monroe and was an All-American. So for Missouri to have any crack at making some noise in the competitive, ultra-competitive SEC, they'll need him. Hardy's extremely important. So that's a bit of good news. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back in hour 3, we open up talking about the draft prospects with James Fletcher. Do want to tell you about Corky's Ribs and Barbecue. Had a Corky's sandwich yesterday for lunch. They have lunch specials every day. Get your barbecue sandwich, your side, and your drink. Really, really affordable. You can have Corky's deliver to your office or to your home during lunchtime, during dinner time. $3.99 set price, local delivery. That's local delivery for Corky's and that delicious slow-smoked barbecue. You can roll through the drive-through. You can dine in at their 4 establishments. But it's pretty easy, no matter where you are, to get Corky's. In fact, Corky's will ship anywhere in the country. They will cater any sized event you have coming up. They'll start you out as low as $7.99 per person. The locations are Poplar Avenue in Memphis, also Poplar Avenue in Collierville, Germantown Parkway in Cordova, and Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Corky's Ribs and Barbecue. They're open for lunch and dinner 7 days a week. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Let Bryant Dacus and Brett Norsworthy take you home every afternoon. Sports Time on Sports 56. Weekdays from 3 to 6 here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
You are an adult. You can drink anywhere you want to. So why would you go to some chain bar when you could be one of the cool kids and go to Bell Tavern, Memphis's perfect downtown neighborhood bar? Things are hopping in downtown Memphis, and Bell Tavern is smack dab in the middle of it. You know where nothing is happening? A big, loud chain bar full of people that don't know about Bell Tavern. Come on, visit Bell Tavern and feel better than other people.
It's time to get your backyard ready for the ultimate pool party with a little help from Family Leisure. If you've been sitting on the fence about taking the plunge with a pool, now's the time to take the dive. You want an above-ground pool? Done. Starting at $39.99, and that's with installation. You want an in-ground pool? Take your pick. They start at under $50,000. Accessorize that pool with a patio furniture set starting at just $9.99. Outdoor sectionals, they start at $12.99. In fact, all in-stock patio furniture sets are priced to move. And with select patio furniture sets, you'll get a free umbrella and base. Okay, you aren't looking to get into a pool just yet? Family Leisure has hot tubs that start at just $34.99. Get in shape or stay in shape with a swim spa starting at $16,999. Get your backyard, front yard, side yard, whatever, ready for fun. Family Leisure, Whitten Road at I-40, where family and fun come together.
Staples presents That Was Easy.
So I was just at Staples. They're having a huge 40th anniversary sale.
40 years. Note to self, send flowers.
Up to 50% off. Save on chairs, paper, balloons, and more.
Balloons?
Yeah, Party City is now at Staples.
Surprise!
But the anniversary sale is only 2 weeks, so...
Quick, celebrate 40 years of savings at Staples with up to 50% off. Shop chairs, paper, break room supplies, and more. 2 weeks only. It's $5.23.
That was easy.
Shop Staples in-store, online, or on the app.
Chris Price here with Metro Builders. In the wake of recent storms in the Mid-South, we saw severe damage, and our prayers go out to all those impacted. Believe it or not, much of this damage has still not been discovered. Most of us do not look up and take notice to displaced shingles, small water stains on our ceilings, and many of the silent ways water attacks our homes. This type of silent damage is unsightly, and if left for a period of time, become unhealthy to you and your family. At Metro Builders, our team of Hague-certified technicians and fully trained estimators are ready to come out, evaluate any concerns you may have, from climbing your roof and evaluating your shingles or TPO to opening a wall or ceiling for further inspection. We get paid to look up and climb. If you have an insurance claim that requires restoration or need a contractor that accepts all insurance carrier scopes, Metro Builders understands the way to restore a home or office either back to its pre-existing condition or upgrading that space. Call me. 901-375-1717. That's 901-375-1717 or MetroBuildersMemphis.com.
This traffic brought to you by Old Dominic Distillery. Come for the spirits, stay for the experience. Cheers to Memphis. Learn more at olddominic.com.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good morning. A steady flow of traffic spotted right now on 51 coming in from Millington. Still some volume there around that 101 connector. Pretty much on schedule this time in the morning. I-40 coming past Watkins as it continues to build up through Midtown on 240 North, especially here up by Lamar. Hey, bridal season is just around the corner. Shop local. Do it right now at Weimer's Jewelry, 7525 Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis, with Dave Woloshin, weekday mornings from 10 to 11.
Now, back to Sports 56 Mornings.
Morning!
On Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, everyone. 9:03 the time. Final hour for us today here on Sports 56 Mornings, the Wednesday, May 13th, 2026 edition. Greg Gaston, Eli Savoy, and Jay Ham are broadcasting live and local from the Family Leisure Studios. Family Leisure, 2120 Whitten Road, just north of I-40. 63 degrees, on the way to 85 today. Mostly sunny skies, and should be that way for most of the week into the weekend, and I don't see rain in the forecast, any serious rain, until Tuesday. But, of course, that's always subject to change. We've talked a lot, and understandably so, about the passing of Brandon Clark, Memphis Grizzlies forward, and we'll continue to do that as the hour progresses. But right now we're pleased to be joined once again by a Memphian, a guy who's going to be a regular talking basketball, college basketball with us this fall. Can't wait for that, including covering the Memphis Tigers, and we'll talk about some of the Tigers moves as well with him. But we want to get his thoughts on the NBA draft now that we know the order after the NBA draft lottery. So without further ado, time to bring on our friend James Fletcher, bracketologist, managing editor at On3 Sports, covering all things basketball and host of 3 True Values. You can follow him on Twitter at JDFletch3. James joins us now on Sports 56 Mornings. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing this morning?
Doing good. We got a lot to get to. You just put your mock draft out after the draft lottery. Before we do so, and because of your ties with Memphis, I did want to ask you first, maybe if you had a thought or two about Brandon Clark and the loss of obviously a guy who was so beloved here in the community.
Yeah, really, really sad news to see yesterday, and my thoughts go out to everyone who's impacted, because when you see someone who is so involved, so beloved in the community, obviously friends and family who were close to him. We know that many of the players who were on the Grizzlies were very close to him, but the fans also just really unsure what to do at this time. I know one of my best friends, his mom, was a huge Brandon Clark fan, so having to break the news to her yesterday was just real sad as well. So a sad situation. I did see on social media a lot of people rallying behind his causes, his organizations that he's poured into, and so that was really good to see. Hopefully we can bring some light out of what is just such a sad story that came out yesterday.
Well said, James. Okay, so your latest mock, which you put together, I guess, yesterday, you have pretty much the 4 in the order that most others who do mocks have. DeBansa, Peterson, the Grizzlies taking Boozer, and Wilson. That's your predictions. But if you were to rank those 4 in order of who you think are the best player and maybe projected as the best NBA player and having the best NBA career, what would the order be? Would it be the same order?
Yeah, I think it's really tough. I've honestly moved these 4 in and out of different positions throughout the entirety of the year. The one thing that I've kept consistent is A.J. DeBonsa at number 1. I've had him there since the preseason when he was coming out of high school. Darren Peterson has fluctuated 2, 3 throughout the course of the season. We know the cramping issues that he's had. Cameron Boozer, the dominance. And it's not just in the college game. I've seen a lot of people focus on his stats in college and say, look at the lineage of people who were really good in college but didn't necessarily do something. That's not the case with Cameron Boozer. He's a guy who's done it at every level, internationally, the high school level, AAU, anywhere you put him on the court against some of these other guys, he has generally come out looking like the best basketball player in that moment. Now, projection is a whole different thing, and projection is where you bring Caleb Wilson into this argument. I know a lot of people have him kind of moving up the board here. Right now, though, my current board does have A.J. DeBonsa at number 1, Cameron Boozer and Caleb Wilson flipping back and forth in that 2 and 3 spot, and Darren Peterson at 4. Darren Peterson, though, like I said, could definitely move back up to 2, could move as high as number 1 by the time we're all said and done with this. So it's really in the eye of the beholder what you like in a prospect and what you're looking for as a team, which is why this top 4 that we got from the lottery is so interesting to break down.
With the measurements and then the testing that was done yesterday, it feels like all 4 kind of did what we expected them to do. Is that and measured kind of the way we expected them to measure? Is that fair to say?
I think it is. A.J. DeBonsa obviously had a really good performance with his jumping ability. That was one of the big standouts from the results. Caleb Wilson, we know how athletic he is. Cameron Boozer, I thought, did pretty well. The viral video going out there of the lane agility drill is the one that's really going to be hammered in on as we debate Boozer versus Wilson. Boozer, of course, put up a quicker time despite some people saying that he looks slower when you watch it on video, and that really gets into kind of what this debate is all about. The cerebral, kind of just almost methodical player versus the very athletic, instant, you can see the upside when you look at Caleb Wilson. It's completely two different players, but both of them have just so much potential to tap into.
Is there a red flag concerning any of those four?
I think Peterson, and this is the only reason that I would have him lower than number 2. I guess you could debate number 3 on my board. The only reason that I have him 4th right now is that we still don't have, despite him coming out and sort of explaining what was going on with the cramps, much of an indication as to why the cramps were leading to the situation that they did later on in the season, an understanding of why he wasn't maybe not trying to fight through the cramps, but getting more work done on the bench. So I think that the medicals are still going to be something that comes into play, particularly when it comes to Darren Peterson. Our team's comfortable that that's not going to happen at the next level, that it was a situation with the creatine that he was using that has been resolved now moving forward. I think that that's the really only red flag of these guys. We're talking about guys who are, in terms of NBA draft prospects, as close to sure things as we've seen in a long time for a 4-deep top of the NBA draft.
The one thing with Wilson that is brought up is obviously the 3-point shooting that he didn't shoot many threes. He didn't make them at a high percentage. What did he do in the shooting drills?
Yeah, he performed decently in those shooting drills. Nothing that really stood out and made headlines, but nothing that hurt his stock either. He's got a solid shot form. It doesn't look like something that you're going to have to overhaul when he gets to the NBA. We've seen plenty of prospects who that's the case for. But I think the thing with him that has really stood out to me when I dig in on the tape is that when he rises for his jump shot, we give him a lot of credit for his mid-range jumper. But the three-pointer, he hasn't taken a lot of attempts, and he just hasn't knocked down at as high of a rate. And when I tried to find out why that was, one of the things that I came up with is that the same reason that he has so many dunk attempts seems to be what he favors in that mid-range, that he can just jump over top of the defense and almost just flick the ball in to the basket. Well, the three-point line, you're talking about much more of a rhythm-based shot, a lot more emphasis placed on how your body is aligned than necessarily just getting to the apex and then figuring out what to do at the top. So I think that that's what he's going to have to continue to develop. We've seen so many players, though, develop their three-point shot during their NBA careers. It's really something that you can get a coach, get into the gym. We know that these guys at the top of the draft are absolutely hard workers. These are not guys who you have to question their work ethic in the gym. So he's going to put in the work that's necessary. And really the question is, how much better can his three-point shooting get throughout the course of his career?
In your mock draft, which is, again, very similar to a lot of other ones out there, there's a lot of quality bigs that would be available at 16 where the Grizzlies pick, including a guy like Jaden Quaintance, who was hurt most of last year with Kentucky, Hannes Steinbach, Koa Pete, Morez Johnson, I mean, on and on. And you have those guys all being taken in a row. But with Chris Senac in Houston, he's 6'10 and a half. You have the Grizzlies taking him. I just don't see any way in heck they're going to take Boozer. If they got Boozer at 3, that they're coming back with a big at 16. My question is, okay, why do you think that? And number 2, if it's not a big, who would be available for the Grizzlies that's a guard out there? Is there anybody quality at 16? Because we've been talking about the Grizzlies trying to move up. But I gave you a lot right there. But why do you got them taking Senac? And then if not Senac, what type of guards, point guards specifically, would be available at 16?
Yeah, so I'll hammer in first on the Senac and then those bigs that are in the range and then get to the guards here. But with Senac, the reason that I have them selecting him at that position is because I do have Quaintance off the board at that point. I do think he would be probably the best fit if you were going to take 2 bigs in this first round, somebody alongside Cam Boozer, somebody who would, of course, come off the bench because we have Zach Edey in that position. But I think the Grizzlies do need another center on the roster. And CNAC can be that 4-5 kind of hybrid. Obviously, the tragic news yesterday, it's not what you want to focus on from it, but now looking forward, there is another gap at that big position on the roster. So I think that CNAC is a guy with really limitless potential. He's one of the future projection guys. And if you're going to get somebody with a floor, a high base, somebody you know what you're getting day one, if you're going to take another big with that second pick, I do think that going for the upside of Chris CNAC makes a lot of sense for this team. Transitioning to why not a guard at this position, I do have a pretty hard tier break before any more guards come off the board. And so if you're the Grizzlies at 16, we know Zach Kleiman is not afraid to trade picks. He's even said as much that they're going to use their assets to go get the players they want in this rebuild. They are not just going to sit back and accumulate the picks, try to make 8 selections over 3 drafts. So I think that they are a really solid candidate to move up the board, down the board, wherever they want to from that spot to get to, whether it's a LeBaron Philon, who would be projected to go a little bit higher in that guard spot, to get maybe their top choice of the bigs that are left on the board, or potentially, like I said, in that next tier, they've got, of course, the pick at 32. They could move up from that spot into the 20s, where you could talk about a Bennett Sturts. You could get more into the mix with a guy like Christian Anderson, who came in a little bit undersized, but the three-point shooting, the assist rate, all things that indicate to you that he could have success at the next level in spite of his smaller frame. He does have some things that really interest you. Bennett Sturts, of course, we know pick and roll is what he did at Iowa, managing that team. He really was the offense. And so to come into an ESOLO system that relies heavily on that high screen being set, I think he's a guy who would make a lot of sense as well if they were to take a guard later on in the first round.
Coming out of the drills and the measurements, the 4 point guards of Wagler, Acuff, Flemings, and Brown, how do you think anything really got affected greatly by their measurements and workouts? And how do you kind of look at the order of those 4 guys?
Yeah, I think if you had asked me after just measurements had been taken, I would have told you that it was not great results for Keaton Wagler, not great for Kingston Flemings, probably pushed Acuff to being a lock for the top rated on my board among those guards. But then we got to the workouts, and man, did Kingston Flemings make up for it. One of the fastest guys on the court, one of the most athletic guys on the court, Keaton Wagler, just tore up the shooting drills, looked really good in those. I do have Darius Acuff as the top guard on my board. I do think that he is much more scheme dependent than those other 2, though, depending on who is picking in that 5th spot, if that's where he ultimately goes. I've got him, and then Keaton Wagler, due in large part to his versatility. I think he might be better off the ball as a secondary playmaker than he is a true point guard, but that also opens him up to a lot more teams that he could potentially be a fit for. Kingston Flemings at 7, and then I've got, Mikel Brown, as well as Braden Burries in that next tier with LeBaron Philon right there with him.
You have Malik Thomas from Arkansas going late in the first round. I really like Malik Thomas. What's the knock on him? Obviously, with Acuff, he overshadowed him, but there were games where they needed Malik Thomas, so they weren't going to win. How good do you think he'll be in the NBA? And he's a bigger guard, right?
He is. He's a bigger guard, another one of the combo guys. And one of these guys that I think has created some value for himself, similarly to what we saw LeBaron Philon do last year. LeBaron Philon, of course, went through the draft process, went back to college. Malik Thomas has the option to do that at Arkansas if he doesn't hear what he wants to from these teams during pre-draft workouts in terms of his range where he will be selected. But the ability to play as a point guard, also play off the ball, like you said, Malik Thomas has some size, so that gives him even more versatility in that guard position at 6'5". I think that the knock, if you're going to put one on Malik Thomas, is the same thing with Acuff. Neither of them really played any defense throughout the course of the season. But if you're talking about Malik Thomas coming off the board late in the first round, potentially as a bench heater, a guy who you go in, you put in the game and try to get a run of points from, something we saw him do multiple times, like you said, for Arkansas. They needed him to turn it up and really knock down some shots, and he was able to do that more often than not. I think he makes sense as a first-round pick, but I can also see him going back to school, building up his draft stock, and potentially, like LeBaron Philon last year, rising up closer to the lottery conversation than this first-round, second-round tier break that we have.
Because did he measure? I thought he measured a little shorter than I thought he was.
For Malik Thomas, I believe he measured somewhere just over 6'3", if I remember correctly, which does fall, yes, under his 6'5" listing. But a lot of these guys, almost all of the point guards who are listed at 6'4", all measured at 6'2.5". And so what that really tells me is just that they measured these guys in shoes. 1.5 inches is about the range that we generally concede as reasonable for your in-shoe height versus the barefoot height that they take at the combine. So I don't think he measured particularly shorter than I was expecting. There were a couple of those, though, this weekend that came in much shorter than we were anticipating.
With the measurements of Nate Ament, do you believe he could be a top 10 guy?
I think he was always destined to probably be a top 10 guy. I know that people have soured on him. There's been questions about kind of maybe not the motor, but just the ability to take over on that Tennessee team. That's what people were really waiting for. It felt like Rick Barnes was even waiting for it for stretches during their season, and you saw it. Almost more frustrating was that you saw Nate Ament in certain moments really reach that next level and take over for that team. But it felt like he had to be asked to do so. He wasn't just going to go out there and rip it away. He is one of the youngest players in this draft class, of course. We all see the baby face when he's on camera. There was talk at the combine that his growth plates might even have more room for him to grow. That's exciting. He's one of these project guys. You're not going to be able to put him into a system and expect him to immediately score 20 points per game like you potentially could with a Cameron Boozer, A.J. DeBonsa, Darren Peterson. Even Caleb Wilson, I don't think he'll get to 20 necessarily in year one. But he's not in that group of players. But if we're talking about guys who have the most potential 6, 7, 8 years from now, he definitely is in the top 10 of this draft in terms of those measurements. So a guy who is going to have to find the right place, the right system that's going to develop him in the right way. With guys like him throughout history, that's one of the biggest issues that we see is them go to the wrong place at the wrong time, and it really stunt their development.
James Fletcher joining us on the Sissy's Log Cabin guest line. Two more quick ones from me. In your mock, you have the Grizzlies at number 32 taking Amari Allen from Alabama. What do you like about him?
I think that he's a guy on the wing who really provided a punch for that Alabama team, really would get in the mix, could play the 3 and the 4 spot for them. He rebounds well. He is one of the guys, though, that measured pretty significantly under what his listed height was, measured 6'5" and a quarter, listed at 6'8" for Alabama. So I think that's what's going to really knock him. And if he decides to stay in the draft but not return to Alabama, I think that he could kind of hover into this range late first round, early second round. A guy, though, that the competition level is going to be there. He's got all the traits that you look for, rebounds well, plays defense. He's got a shot that you can believe in to continue to develop at the NBA level. He's really just one of these players that he checks all the boxes, and that's what you want to do with these second-round picks. Find somebody who you feel like can come in and be part of the rotation, part of the roster from early on, and potentially then can grow from there. The Grizzlies have done really well selecting in this range, of course.
Some players do play in platform shoes. That could cause that. I don't know if you know that or not, but some players do like to play in platform shoes. It's really weird. Real weird trait about some guys, but they love those platform shoes.
They like boots, too.
One of the ones you have in your mock, and I was actually having this conversation, is Yaxel Lendeborg going to Oklahoma City at 12. And if Oklahoma City does decide to pick at 12 and actually add players, it does make complete sense because they don't care that he's 24 years old because they are in win now mode and they'll just plug him in there. And it's a little scary because it seems like that is the absolute perfect fit.
It really could be. It could be one of the best fits. And I think that they're at 12. What might be scariest for the Thunder is that they have 12 and 17. So if they want to move up in this draft, they very well could do that and get into even another class of players Or they could move up to secure Yaxel Lindeborg, make sure that he's there where they're selecting. Ade Mara taken one spot ahead in my mock draft by the Warriors, another guy that would just be terrifying to see join that Thunder team, provide them even more size, length. We saw this Michigan team dominate in that front court with their size and just ability to take over games and keep teams from being able to get anywhere on the offensive end. Both of those guys were big contributors to that. So, yeah, whether you can add Yaxel to their forward room and put him on the wing, just imagining a wing combination of Jalen Williams and Yaxel Lindeborg, scary for any team to think about, or Ade Mara on the back end, really cleaning things up at the rim. The Thunder are in really good position, again, to draft an impact player who's going to immediately come into that rotation, even if they might not need him to as a rookie.
I heard a national guy yesterday talking about Mara that he should be considered, it should be a big 5. He should be one of the top 5 guys taken. That's how dominant a player he can be. My last question for you is, who is the top prospect internationally? Did not play at all. We have obviously a lot of players who are foreigners that are playing in the NBA, but who's the top prospect? And is there one in the first round? Normally we have a bunch of those guys, but do we have anybody?
Yeah, it's become harder and harder to kind of sort through those because Ade Mara would have been among those. Right. He, of course, comes from Spain, but he comes to the college game. And I think it's better for the NBA draft, the scouting of it, at least, to see these guys all in a similar setting. We see them compete against each other because it is much harder to evaluate what a guy's doing in the NBL or in the Spanish league as a guy who's part of the rotation but not the star player than it is when they're all in college basketball. We all have a frame of reference. We watch it every week. We understand what it looks like. And so I do think that these guys coming over has made this scouting process easier. But in terms of the guys that have stayed overseas, are not part of the college game, Kareem Lopez is going to be the top one selected, no question about it. Mexican player, went to the NBL and has really broken out this year. Big guy on the wing, has the size, the frame that you're looking for. I know the Grizzlies GM Zach Kleiman visited down there at least once to watch him play in person. So that's a guy to keep an eye on if you are a Grizzlies fan. Outside of that, the only other one, and I shouldn't say the only other one because we see guys become surprises like Young Hansen last year jump into the first round. But the other one that I'm looking at with a grade around the first round is Sergio Delaria out of Spain, a 6'6" point guard who is playing for Valencia right now. He plays in the Euro League, gets real minutes there, shoots above 40% from three as well. One of the few players in this class, and I know, again, it's really hard to compare them head-to-head against these college guys, but with a high assist rate and a high three-point rate, I believe it was Christian Anderson and him, the two top guys in that category from this class. You can move Acuff into there as well if you knock down the assist number just a little bit for those metrics. So he is going to be one of the top point guard prospects. But again, harder to compare him head-to-head with the others, given where he's playing and the situation that he finds himself in.
That's an excellent point and excellent stuff, once again, from James Fletcher. You can follow him on Twitter at JDFletch3, bracketologist and managing editor at On3 Sports, covering all things basketball, host of the Three True Values. And, of course, as I mentioned earlier, can't wait. He'll be a regular with us come fall and winter, talking basketball, talking Tigers hoops as well. Great stuff, James. Appreciate it. And we'll talk to you here soon as we get closer to the draft.
Yep, looking forward to it.
Appreciate it now. He knows his stuff. Great to have him aboard. It'll be interesting, but I just don't see the Grizzlies turning around and, if they take Boozer, take another big at 16.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly is possible. Again, there is, unfortunate part of it, and we don't, with the Brandon Clark news is, I mean, right now, you have Zach Edey, and you've got Santi Aldama.
Right.
That's it. That's your bigs on the roster. So, adding, you're going to need it. You're certainly going to need more than just one.
That's a good point. I guess then you might get into that situation where best player available. And if you want to check his mock out, I think it's very similar to a lot of them. There's a run of those bigs. There's a run. You got obviously those at the top with Boozer and with Wilson. But then there's a big run of the bigs. And I'll tell you what, I don't know. I mean, a lot of people love Quaintance because of the possibilities, but those injured dudes always scare me. I know Edey wasn't injured and got injured here in Memphis with the Grizzlies, but a lot of people love Quaintance if he would be available at 16.
Yeah, I mean, very talented kid. But yeah, I was having the conversation about Lindenborg and Oklahoma City yesterday. It's like that. You could just see that happening with his defensive versatility, which is right up their alley. They don't care that he's 24 years old or will be 24 years old. Like they're in win now mode. It's like you could just see that right there for them, and they make that happen. And you're like, oh gosh, just add another one of those guys in there, that mix.
They got a huge event coming up this weekend. I think it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Could be starting Thursday over at the Event Center. Nike EYBL National Tournament. And I bring that up because there's Team Thad that'll be competing. And I bring up Team Thad because Thaddeus Young, who not only sponsors that team, is also one of the owners of Shoot 360 Memphis. And a lot of those players that play for Team Thad have been over to Shoot 360 Memphis many, many, many times, have practiced there, but also have gotten into those shooting bays and have worked on their shot. And you can as well. You don't have to be playing EYBL. You don't have to be playing for Team Thad. You don't even have to be playing for a team. You want to get your shot on? You want to become a better basketball player? You want to refine your skills? This is the place for you. Shoot 360 Memphis, a revolutionary basketball training facility with hands-on, one-on-one expert coaching. Get the feedback from the coaches. You get the analytical information as well. It is a real cool place to visit, and that's what you should do. In Cordova, the 50,000 square foot facility on Big Orange Road, take a tour. Stop by and tell me you want a tour, or call them and set it up at 901-779-3176. They have the original in Collierville. It's smaller. They have the shooting bays with the Shoot 360 technology. That's at 85 Market Street. That number is 901-316-5500. And really the great thing about all of this, if that's not good enough, it's monthly memberships. So you're not bogged down with some long-term year or multi-year deal. You have month-to-month access. So you join for a month. Hopefully you'll like it and you'll want to join for more. But it's real easy to do. Again, give them a call or stop by. Shoot 360 Memphis. The future of basketball training is here at Shoot 360 Memphis. You're tuned into Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Did you miss your favorite Sports 56 show? No! Check out the podcast, broken down hourly at sports56whbq.com or wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to like and subscribe. Never miss any Sports 56 show again with our podcasts available daily from Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Hey Memphis, Tyler Harrington from Memphis Baseball. When you need a financial teammate who's got your back, choose Southern Security Credit Union. From great rates to friendly local service, they deliver every time. Visit southernsecurity.org or call 901-452-7900 to join today. Southern Security Credit Union, your home team credit union, is a proud supporter of Memphis athletics and 901 women and is federally insured by the NCUA.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roof Services. Do you know what Penny Hardaway and I have in common? We should both be in that building celebrating the best basketball players of all time. Of course, I'll have to buy a ticket to get in, but he should already be there. But seriously, we both surround ourselves with the best people we can find. We work hard to achieve our goals, and we are both among the best in our respective fields. At Fiveash, we can't win titles or get national awards, but what we can and do strive to do is give 100% of ourselves to give you the best product possible and one you can be proud of. So if you need a roof, siding, or gutters, give us a call at 901-367-0050, and we will do everything we can to provide you the best of everything. Fiveash Roofing. Fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
If wedding bells are in your future, you need an unforgettable engagement ring from a jeweler you can trust. And that's been James Gaddis Jewelers for over 60 years. With a huge selection and the best prices, James Gaddis is a master jeweler and diamondologist. Beautiful jewelry from James Gaddis is always the right choice. Choose from rings to earrings, necklaces to bracelets, and gemstones to watches. Layaway and financing available. James Gaddis Jewelers, 4900 Poplar, online at GaddisJewelers.com and Instagram at Gaddis Jewelers. Say I do at James Gaddis Jewelers.
Now back to Sports 56 Mornings.
Good morning.
On Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
So with all the various drills and things they were doing at the combine yesterday, it's crazy when you see some of the thing, people were posting like comparisons to the NFL draft prospects. And like the idea that Caden Proctor and Keaton Wagler have the same vertical leap is really like mind blowing. Like you're to process that and think that a 350-pound dude jumps basically the same height as an NBA, soon to be NBA top 10 pick guard.
We're talking top of the line athletes right here.
I at first I kind of laughed at it, and then I started to process that. I'm like, what? No, that shouldn't be possible. That Caden Proctor's was 32 and a half, and Wagler's was 33 inches. Proctor's 6'7", 352 pounds. That's scary. That is such a freak of nature athletic thing that you can't process that.
Well, we say freak of nature, but then the next one comes along, and then the next one comes along.
And we're just watching how do they do that? It's kind of like 30 years ago when Mark Henry, the power lifter, was coming into the wrestling world. They pretty much discovered him because he's 400 pounds, he's 6'2", but he's flushing a basketball, just dunking with ease. It's like, how? At 6'2", that weight.
All I asked God was for a couple of more inches, be 5'10". I'd be very, very happy.
But he's basically twice the weight of Wagler.
Right.
And has the same vertical jump. It just insane. It's just insane when you think. And there was others that they kept putting up there with offensive linemen and stuff, and they're just like, I don't get it. I don't understand how you can do that at that size, but these guys do. Did you see the Rory McIlroy video that was going around yesterday?
Yes.
For folks that didn't see it, they were showing silhouettes of golf swings to Rory McIlroy, and he had to say who it was just based off the silhouette of the swing. And he was insane. He said it immediately. And I swear, it's almost too good for me to believe it. There are some that are Tiger. I know Tiger's swing. You could see Tiger and go, yeah, that's Tiger. And Charles Barkley was in there. Yes, that's obviously Charles Barkley. But for him to...
Was it Siwoo Kim or somebody like that he got? I was like, what?
Siwoo Kim immediately. And Jordan Spieth. And he said Jordan Spieth before he even swung. He's like, I don't even just see a swing. I know it's Jordan Spieth. And Jordan Spieth, yes, I can recognize that swing. Wouldn't recognize it maybe before he swung, but he's like, oh, Jordan Spieth. But then Michael Block.
Right.
The dude nailed Michael Block. I'm like, how many times has Rory McIlroy watched Michael Block swing a golf club to know his swing based off of the silhouette of it? And then LeBron James.
Right.
Immediately, LeBron James. I'm like, dude, that was insane. If that was truly he did not know and they just threw these in front of him and he was that quick, that is crazy.
Yeah, I watched it. I was amazed by it too. And then I thought to myself, Michael Block, how did you know that? And then again, Barkley, everybody knows by looking at the silhouette of Barkley. It even showed, it was him when he's lost some weight, but more bigger and all. I don't know how he knew LeBron James. LeBron James was just a regular Joe swing, Joe Q public swing. I don't know how he knew that. They didn't show Scotty Scheffler where the foot would come out, and he would know that in a second. But was it Siwoo Kim? Siwoo Kim, Michael Block. A couple of those were how did you know those?
Film. He's just relentless with his film work.
Yeah. Even Schauffele. Schauffele is a pretty common professional sweet swing. Nothing extraordinary.
Schauffele, I could tell by the Schauffele has a follow through that.
Oh, does he?
You could tell just the way it. But yeah, Siwoo And again, I guess maybe Siwoo Kim has a really good swing, so I could see where Rory may have watched. The Michael Block one, is he really? He's not studying Michael Block's swing, is he? Is he really studying Michael Block's swing?
You're talking about one of the best in the world. They are maniacal about this stuff. Man.
When he threw that one in there, I was like, what in the hell? You could have shown me Michael Block's swing. You give me 3 days, I would have never come up with Michael Block. I wouldn't even think of that. I would never guess that he would be included in this group of swings.
He's not a PGA Touring pro. He's a PGA professional, and it's the PGA Championship, and Michael Block once again qualified for it. So it's not like some guy he sees every week on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, it's part of his film study at this stretch.
I don't know if he's studying Michael Block. I mean, it's just, it was crazy. You're right, Eli. It's almost too good to believe that he really did that they didn't feed him a little information.
It makes me wonder, how many he could actually name.
Well, I wanted to see more.
Could he do if I gave him the top 100 players on tour, and I just said we went down every one of the top 100 players on tour, how many would Rory get right?
I'd give him 85 to 90 off top.
Well, that would be incredibly impressive. Yeah. I mean, incredibly impressive.
If you could just spot Siwoo Kim like that, and if you don't Michael Block, because there are some that are
we know Cam Young.
Scheffler, there are certain ones that are really easy to tell.
Cam Young, he pauses at the top, and Scotty Scheffler, the leg comes out. I mean, there are some that you certainly know, that we know, but some of those other ones that are just those picture-perfect swings that many of them have, I don't know how you tell the difference.
And then I wonder, then I was thinking, okay, how many I would like to take the top 100. I'd like to try it, see how many I could get right, and then obviously would he be close? And then see a guy like Rory, and our other guys. I wonder if other guys on tour are like that. If I went to Jordan Spieth and did the same thing, how many does he get right? Or are there other guys who'd be like, I don't know, I don't care about other guys' swings. I've got my swing. That's what I care about is my swing. But man, if that truly was just them showing and he did it that quickly, that was unbelievable.
We talk a lot about the Masters Tuesday dinner with the former champions. They're all there, or at least most of them that are, unless maybe there's a health reason. They also have the PGA Championship Champions Dinner. And for whatever reason, not that many show up for that. I mean, enough show up, but there's a lot that don't show up for that. Now, granted, Tiger Woods is out of commission. Phil Mickelson right now is a mystery. I don't know what's going on with Phil Mickelson. Anyway, I was texting back and forth or tweeting back and forth with our friend Sean McKeel, who, of course, a former winner, and he was at the dinner, and he sent me the menu for the dinner. So this is what they had last night. And there were enough players, and they honored Scotty Scheffler, who's last year's winner. But if you're just wondering what these pros eat at the dinner, the appetizer was handmade Italian meatballs with a whipped ricotta and herbs, and then handmade focaccia garlic bread. The dinner, they had the local Labelle chicken parm with marinara, mozzarella, Parmesan cheese, sliced and served family style. Oh, so it's a family style is how they presented this stuff. Creekstone prime strip steaks, summer green salad, smashed roasted potatoes, flash fried Brussels sprouts, heirloom tomatoes and cucumbers. For dessert, a trio of gelato, lemon, strawberry, raspberry, served with homemade cookies. There you go. That's the PGA Champions Dinner, which Sean McKeel was a part of last night. But a lot of the former winners weren't there that are healthy. Vijay Singh, who was at the Masters dinner, was not there. I guess didn't want to come up to, I guess he's not playing. I know Stuart Sink is playing. He just won the Champions.
That's the thing, is how many of them are still, are playing in it.
Yeah, Stuart Sink is.
Maybe so many that are still playing in it every year.
It's funny because I was looking at the comments and they're like, how did Stuart Sink get in winning the PGA Seniors on the Champions Tour? It's like they forgot that he's won a regular PGA Championship on the regular tour and won with the Seniors. And then there was the return of guys like Jason Duffner, who hadn't won, anything. He's won some tournaments, but that's his only major, right? Who's the other guy? There's a bunch of guys who only won one time.
Stuart Sink did not win a PGA Championship.
Well, how's he at the dinner?
He's probably has qualified through the seniors. Or is it? It's probably he's probably a senior PGA championship probably gets you in.
To the dinner? The dinner's supposed to be just PGA championship winners, not...
And senior probably qualifies.
I don't know, because there was no other... There was not a lot of senior... Like, you had guys like...
I know Stuart Sink didn't win, so I would guess that would be the reason he got in.
People were right. I thought they were wrong when they were saying that. I didn't go back and check. I was just
he won the British. He did not win. That's his only major, the British.
But they had guys like Duffner, I mentioned, Sluman. They won PGA championships, not Champions Tour, senior PGA championships. And they were all at this dinner. But the PGA Championship will get underway tomorrow. Steve Sands from the Golf Channel on NBC will join us at 9:30. We'll take a break, and then when we come back, again, we'll talk about, obviously, the big story, the passing of Brandon Clark and all the other stuff that went on yesterday with some other tragic news, and refresh what we talked about earlier. Well, it was a horrible, horrific day for the Grizzlies. It was a really good day for the Memphis Tigers. We'll recap that as well when we come back. You're tuned into Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Your home is your best investment, so why not make it the best it can be with help from Gates Lumber? Start with your front door, serving two purposes, curb appeal and security. Gates has solid construction doors built for security, durability, and beauty. See and compare wood, steel, and fiberglass options side by side at Gates Showroom. It's easier to choose when you can see and touch real doors with real assistance from knowledgeable staff helping you choose the right door for your home and budget. So don't just replace your door, upgrade your protection, and Gates Lumber is the right choice. Family owned and operated, serving you for over 100 years with free estimates, free delivery, competitive prices, and quality products. Call 901-942-3201, go to gateslumber.com, or come by their showroom, 1253 South Bellevue Boulevard. Gates Lumber, celebrating over 100 years with a passion for craftsmanship since 1920.
Everybody in Memphis knows by now that Sunrise on Jefferson and Sunrise on Poplar are the places to go for a great breakfast or lunch. But what you may not know is that Sunrise is partnered with Across the Board Catering to provide their delicious food for events ranging from work lunches to birthday parties to tailgates and any other time people want to eat some Sunrise tastiness somewhere other than a Sunrise location. Don't make your friends, coworkers, or virtual strangers you've been tasked with feeding suffer by giving them some cold box lunch when you can give them Sunrise.
Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery and setup, dependable service, and no long-term contracts. What an easy choice. Call Jeff Manus today, 901-382-2363, or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call now, 382-2363. That's 382-2363.
Rick's Powder Coating for a beautiful finish every time. Rick's Powder Coating specializes in automotive, ornamental, residential, and industrial coating. With 2 conveyor lines and the largest batch ovens in the Mid-South, Rick's can accommodate all of your powder coating needs. Locally owned and operated since 2002, Rick's Powder Coating will customize a beautiful finish just for you. Drop by or call to see how Rick's Powder Coating can bring color to your life. 901-367-2771 or rickspowdercoating.com.
Now back to Sports 56 Mornings.
Good morning.
On Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, everybody. 9:47 the time. Final segment here on this Wednesday edition of Sports 56 Mornings. Unfortunately, very somber show with the shocking death of Brandon Clark of the Memphis Grizzlies. And we don't have any more information. I know that the police are investigating his passing, where drug paraphernalia was found in California where he was at. Did he have a home in California? Was he at his mother's home? What was he at a friend's house? Does anybody know?
I have no idea. I don't know if it was his place or where he was.
But the investigation is ongoing. Again, as we mentioned earlier, thoughts and prayers to the Grizzlies organization, all his friends here in Memphis, and everybody who knew Brandon Clark. He was not married, did not have a child, and it's just a tragic loss. Yesterday also, Jason Collins passed away after his fight with cancer, a trailblazer, the first openly gay athlete of team sports in history in the United States, and he passed away at the age of 47. Brandon Clark was only 29, but 47, that's not old either. And Jason Collins did play a short time for the Memphis Grizzlies back in 2008 when he was acquired in a trade for Stromile Swift. He ended up playing 31 games for Memphis. So obviously a very, very tragic day in the world of sports, specifically in the world of basketball.
Yeah, it was certainly not of all the excitement coming out of the draft lottery and with the combine going on, and you're watching all of these guys who were thinking about who the Grizzlies will get out of that group, and that excitement, and to get that type of news, just a real downer. And it's such a sad thing. And again, you don't know what people are going through. You don't know what might be affecting people, even when you think that when you've got millions of dollars and everything else, that nothing can possibly be wrong in your life, but you just don't know what people are going through.
And if you do, and or have an idea that somebody, and again, we don't know if he did this to himself on purpose and committed suicide. It was just an OD. What we don't know. But if there is somebody that is in your family or friends that you know, because you see these announcements all the time about suicide prevention and things of that nature. If you know somebody who's struggling, do something about it. Sometimes you don't know, but if you do something about it. Last night, the San Antonio Spurs blew out the Timberwolves. It wasn't a blowout early, but in that second half, the 30-12 run in the third quarter, the beatdown in the fourth quarter, Minnesota just not enough weapons, and the Spurs win it by 29. Wemby with 27.17 rebounds, 5 assists. So they're one game away from moving into the Western Conference Finals, where they will play OKC. Minnesota, their last stand will come Friday night. Maybe their last stand. If they win, they'll force a 7th game. But right now, not having DiVincenzo, Anthony Edwards not 100%, Gobert getting clobbered by Wemby. It looks like it's destined for San Antonio and for Oklahoma City. We talk about the greatness of Oklahoma City. San Antonio got that thing turned around pretty quickly, making the right picks in the draft, building that team. Had a few lean years, of course, had all the great years that they put together with Tim Duncan and Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker, and before that, of course, David Robinson and Sean Elliott, and all the great players that have played in San Antonio, and now it's a renaissance.
Well, it helps when you have unbelievable draft lottery luck, when you get the number one pick, when the Tim Duncans of the world come out, and when the Victor Wembanyama's world come out.
Whoops.
Quite a dramatic announcement there. It's
jeez.
So
my gosh.
when you get the number one pick in when the transcendent players are coming out,
yeah,
a little easier to rebuild.
You need the luck. Look, you need the luck.
It works out well. It's worked out well for the San Antonio Spurs through the year with the draft lottery. They've done all right in that darn thing.
It'll be interesting when they have to pay their guys. When they have to spend a lot of money. De'Aaron Fox would probably be the guy likely to be the odd man out. But they got a bench. They got the 6th man of the year, Keldon Johnson. They have a really, really strong bench. And they are a good team. But we're talking about maybe a dynasty in Oklahoma City. Now, the Knicks may have something to say about that, but they got to get by their opponent in the East, and we don't know who that opponent is because Detroit and Cleveland, they're still going. And tonight will be Game 5. It'll be in Detroit. Pistons, a 3.5-point favorite, and so far in that series, the home team has won every game.
The problem in the West, I mean, if you're a team in the West, and you look at it, and you look at Oklahoma City, and you look at San Antonio, like you go, How do we get to that level with as young as they are and as good as they are?
And do it in a quick fashion.
Yeah, I mean, and for a lot of those other teams that are trying to compete at that level right now, like they're already paying all their guys a bunch of money, so they don't have the ability to go add a bunch. Like we talk about the Lakers, who knows where the Lakers go from here? Like they've got everybody's a free agent and they got to figure that whole thing out. But if you're Denver, you're like, we are what we are. We're locked in with all this money. Like, what do we do? Like, we aren't that good, and we don't have the ability to really add anybody without trading some of these guys. You know, the Houstons that made the big push. It's like you look around, you're like, how are we supposed to match those two franchises right now? And I don't know what that answer is, because it looks like right now you could see, barring injuries, Oklahoma City and San Antonio play in the Western Conference Finals. Like right now, you're going, hell, it might be the next 5-6 years. It could be those two teams easily.
Well, it's always intriguing. The West is always so intriguing. You know, what are the Lakers going to do? Will LeBron come back? Will it be one last swan song? Will they be able to add to Luka? What's Golden State going to do now? The Kerr's coming back for 2 more years. Right now, they're nothing. I mean, obviously they have Steph and Draymond, but what could they add to the mix? Minnesota is really good, needs to get a little bit better. I still think Ishbia and Phoenix have some things up their sleeves to do some things to make some moves. Houston, remember, they did not have Van Vliet. And then who else got hurt for them? They had a couple of guys that were down, but
they hadn't seen Steven Adams much.
Right. So I don't know if he's going to be a big factor in the future, but Houston's on the uprise. You got a lot of teams. Utah has some pieces. I don't know if they could ever put it all together, but Utah's got some. The West is, and that's why it's going to be really tough for the Grizzlies right off the bat. But even if it takes a little longer, if they get it right, and they're back to being a really competitive team in the West, then I think everybody will be happy. But Eli's absolutely right on. I mean, right now you think about Oklahoma City and San Antonio and go, how? How do you stop those teams? One guy's got a genetic freak on it. The other one's got the MVP. And I didn't even bring up Denver, which had a little bit of down. Can you call it a down year when they lose in the playoffs? Maybe, but I think they'll be back and certainly will be extremely competitive.
Well, we all know about the great barbecue that is served up over at Central Barbecue on a daily basis. Well, they are now adding breakfast as well at the Central Avenue location of Central Barbecue. Wow. That's of course the original location. It's the brand new building over there at Central Avenue, 2235 Central Avenue. But now serving breakfast daily from 7 a.m. until 10:30 a.m. Biscuits, breakfast burrito, toaster sandwiches, French toast. You could check that out at the Central Avenue location of Central Barbecue. Also, they now have a full bar at the Central Avenue location, the OG Bar, serving mixed drinks, wine, local beers. The bar's open daily from 11 a.m. until close. You could check out their Tiger Margarita that they've got over at that location as well, with the full bar now at the Central Avenue location. So again, still serving up the great barbecue on a daily basis at Central Barbecue at all the locations, but at the Central Avenue location, that's the original, again, 2235 Central Avenue. Breakfast now available daily from 7 a.m. until 10:30 a.m. and a full bar available daily starting at 11 a.m. at Central Barbecue.
Here's one for the women. Race car driver Catherine Legge will attempt to become the first woman to complete the double by racing in the Indianapolis 500 and the Coca-Cola 600 on the same day. She'll be racing for Live Fast Motorsports in the number 78 car at the NASCAR race. She'll be now entered in the Indy 500 with AJ Foyt Motorsports and the number 11 car. She has raced in the Indy circuit. She has raced in the NASCAR circuit. In fact, last week finished 35th at Watkins Glen. Catherine Legge attempting to become the first woman to complete the double with the Indy 500 and the Coca-Cola 600 same day. Good luck to her. Our thanks to DeMichael Cole, James Fletcher for joining us on the show. Tomorrow, we got a big program. Kerry Miller at 8:25. Memphis Tigers football coach Charles Huff at 9:05. Steve Sands from the Golf Channel on NBC at 9:30 as we'll talk PGA Championship with him. Should be a lot of fun tomorrow. Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 is coming up next. For Eli Savoy and for Jay Ham, I'm Greg Gaston. Thanks for